Okay. So just to recap very quickly in 60 seconds, what we talked about is that there can be browser applications, there can be mobile applications. You need to have, these browser and mobile applications, they in turn talk to some kind of a backend application. They make a call or invoke the RESTful APIs. These RESTful APIs are implemented in REST controller, some kind of classes that implements the request processing logic. That in turn makes a call to the components that implements business logic. That in turn makes a call to the DAO classes, which implements data access logic. That in turn makes a call to the database, gets the data, processes that data, the database related logic. It comes back over here, the business logic component implements the business logic, returns it back to the RESTful API. RESTful API converts it into a JSON and returns it back to the browser or a mobile application, which in turn uses that JSON and beautifully presents it on the screen. As simple as this. Correct. And now moving ahead, if someone wants to master this, if someone, or rather, let me put it like this, if someone wants to build an application like this, then what are the technologies that one must learn? So if it's a mobile application, there are various different options available. I'm not going to get into the details of it, but then you can have hybrid development framework like Ionic. You can use Ionic, or else you can use framework like and again, with Ionic, you've got a choice. You can use Angular or you can use React.js. Then you also have a choice of using React Native, which is, React Native. This is what it is, React Native. And then you also have a choice to build, there are many options available. Swift is available, Android SDK is available, many options available. So you need to know this, right? So we are not getting into the deep. Maybe in some time in the future, we will talk about this. But then here, when you develop browser applications, again, you can use Ionic. No, not necessarily. You can use something like Angular, just Angular. But then Angular is a framework which is not just simply sufficient for us. So, what you do is that in order to get, because Angular does not out of the box provide the user interface related components. We all know, I mean, almost all of you will know about it. You have been working on it since, ages now. So we use PrimeMG, right? We use PrimeMG as a framework on top of Angular so that we get beautiful user interface controls like boxes, I'm in drop downs and combo boxes and stuff and all. So this is what, people would learn. Now, what about this layer? What about this layer? What about this layer? So this can be developed either in Python or Scala, all right? Or it can be developed in Ruby with a Play framework. What is most extensively used is either a Python-based, this is either a Python-based application, again on top of, so Python is a programming language, Java is a programming language, Scala is a programming language, Ruby is a programming language. These programming languages, they provide the programming platform, but that's not sufficient for you to build such sophisticated components. So on top of it, they have built frameworks. So if it is Python, then they have built frameworks like Flask. This is the framework that they have built. Then they have built a framework like, if it is Python, Django, you might have heard of Django, not heard. आपने बहुत सारे लोगों ने अपने काम भी किया है Django पे, right? ये सब है. But अगर Java आपका अगर programming platform आप Java use कर रहे हो, then Java में what is the framework that we have been using since ages? Spring Boot. This is the framework that we use, right? सबको पता है, मैं अभी ज्यादा इसके बारे में बात नहीं करता. Everyone of you, I mean, पता क्या है? You are masters and you are writing code in this, right? Day in and day out, you are doing this. No big deal. Perfect. So this is what we use, isn't it? And we talk to the database. So this is how typically we build our applications, right? So far, so good. Now, as I said in the beginning, usually people are aware of this. Even if one does not know Python and Java and Flask and Django and Spring Boot and Java and stuff, the Angular and stuff, they are aware of the existence of these frameworks and programming languages. Rather, let me say programming languages, and top of those programming languages, those respective frameworks, right? They know about this, that ऐसा है, और उनको अगर career बनाना है तो उनको पता है कि ये सब चीज सीखना है. What, my dear friends, this training program is very critical, my dear friends. दुनिया बहुत बड़ी है, बहुत बड़ी है. सॉफ्टवेयर की दुनिया बहुत बड़ी है. It's not only about this. This is just a drop in an ocean, right? और बहुत extensively ये use होता है because every next application browser बेस्ड एक्सेस तो चाहिए, मोबाइल बेस्ड एक्सेस तो चाहिए, रेस्टफुल एपीआई तो बनाना ही है, बिजनेस सर्विस तो तो इसका भी डिमांड बहुत है. बट there is a lot more than this. There are software solutions that typically are for blockchain technology. There are software solutions typically for security. अभी यहाँ पे देखो ना, ये अगर हम लोग ने सॉफ्टवेयर ये इंप्लीमेंट किया है, एवरी वन ऑफ यू, आपको सबको पता है. आई एम जस्ट ट्राइंग टू पुट थिंग्स इन पर्सपेक्टिव. ऐसा है क्या कि ये बना दिया कोई भी एंगुलर ऐप, कोई भी, तो कोई दूसरा भी एंगुलर ऐप लिखेगा तो अपनी एपीआई कॉल कर लेगा. और एपीआई कौन सी कॉल होती है यहाँ पे तो दिखता ही है ना. यहाँ पे आप जाओगे देखोगे तो आपको एपीआई दिख जाएगी कौन सी कॉल हो रही है इंस्पेक्ट एलिमेंट पे. तो कोई भी जाके कोई भी वो एपीआई कॉल कर ले, ऐसा नहीं है ना. बट ऑथराइजेशन भी चाहिए, ऑथेंटिकेशन एंड अदर. तो उसके लिए पीपल हैव मेड देयर करियर इन सिक्योरिटी. पीपल हैव मेड देयर करियर इन. अभी एक बात बताओ, ये सब इतना सारा काम होता है, हजारों रिक्वेस्ट आती है, एंड देन बिजनेस सर्विस एग्जीक्यूटिव, डेटा लैग, ब्ला ब्ला ब्ला, इतना सब होता है. लॉगिंग भी चाहिए. वी नीड टू लॉग कि कौन सी रिक्वेस्ट कितने टाइम पर कब आई है, उसका क्या एरर था, कि क्या सक्सेस था, पूरा सब उसका लॉगिंग चाहिए. और फिर लॉगिंग के अंदर से एनालिटिक्स निकालते हैं, लॉगिंग के अंदर से हम लोग इंफॉर्मेशन. तो लॉगिंग है, सिक्योरिटी है, कंकरेंसी है, ट्रांजैक्शन मैनेजमेंट. देयर आर सो मेनी आर्किटेक्चरल मैकेनिज्म्स. फिर मैसेजिंग आ जाता है. You have to send SMSs, you're going to send emails, you're going to send this and that. Messaging related software solutions होता है. So it's not only about this RESTful APIs. If you see, we have to grow as a company, as Infomover Technologies. हमको इस पर नहीं रह जाना है. तो पहली बात तो दिमाग के पर्दे खोलने हैं. And many of y'all in the team have already worked on messaging, have already worked on Kafka extensively, have already, which is a messaging platform. We have already worked on all of those things. And there are huge, इतनी सारी चीजें. देखो अभी ये देखो Splunk for example. ये Splunk हमको ये यूज करना है अपने अपने पतंग के लिए, अपने कस्टमर के लिए, अपने को ये यूज करना है. ये आगे चल के क्या है ये Splunk? Splunk is the technology make your organization more resilient with unified security and observability platform. ये observability कितना बड़ा सब्जेक्ट मैटर है पता है. हम 5 दिन की ट्रेनिंग इस पे कर सकते हैं सीख के. What is observability? Observability is observing आपका पूरा इकोसिस्टम. आपकी माइक्रो सर्विसेज से लेके, माइक्रो सर्विस मतलब ये जो सर्विसेज आप इंप्लीमेंट करते हो, ये सर्विसेज से लेके आपका आपका डेटाबेस को ऑब्जर्व करना है. वहां पे उसका परफॉर्मेंस कैसे चल रहा है, कहीं पे कुछ एरर आ रहा है, बॉटलनेक किधर है, कौन सा ऑथराइजेशन स्लो चल रहा है, काफका में बॉटलनेक है, क्या है क्या नहीं है. ये पूरी ऑब्जर्वेबिलिटी चाहिए आपको, आपके सॉफ्टवेयर, आपके सब इकोसिस्टम की. स्प्लंक बहुत हजारों चीजें हैं, हजारों चीज. राइट. सो बहुत सारी चीजें ओवर एंड अबाउट दिस. सो आई हैव टॉक्ड अबाउट बहुत सारी चीजें ओवर एंड अबाउट दिस. नाउ आई एम कमिंग टू द मेन पार्ट. अभी ये ले लो, चलो एक सेकेंड. आई एम गेटिंग सम मैसेजेस, सो लेट मी चेक. Because if Charu and all wanted to join, then hey, there's a call from my mom. One second. Sure. Okay. Let's continue. So, I was talking about Zomato, right? I was talking about Zomato. अभी बहुत हजार करोड़ की बात बता रहा हूँ मैं, आप बात सुनो. I hope you are all there with me. All there? Can I get a quick roll? All there?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Very good, very good, very good, very good. At any given point in time, all over India, take guess karo, there is a chat window available over here with Zoom. There is a chat window available in Zoom. and 2 select karo everyone, and whenever I ask questions, I'm going to answer my questions here. एक guess करो at this moment 10:35 a.m. Tuesday 25th of April, कितने रिक्वेस्ट उनके सर्वर पे गई होगी? एक अंदाजा डालो, या आप बोल भी सकते हो if you want to unmute yourself and say कितना, एक अंदाजा at this moment, at this very moment, कितनी रिक्वेस्ट उनके सर्वर पे गई होगी जोमेटो?
Maybe thousands.
Millions.
यार 200 तो यहाँ पे एक मेरे एरिया में नहीं होगी, इससे ज्यादा होगी. Thousands, if not millions, at least thousands at this given point in time. 1000 for different. मैंने डोसा मंगाया है और मुरली ने इडली मंगाया है, राइट? किसी ने बिरयानी मंगाया, तुफैल ने बिरयानी मंगाया, समझो, तौफीक ने पिज्जा मंगाया. वो भी कौन से एरिया में क्या मंगाया, किसने क्या मंगाया, और चेन्नई से लेके यहाँ बड़ौदा तक के किसने क्या 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 क्या. Thousands of requests at this given point in time. पूरे दिन भर में लाखों रिक्वेस्ट, lakhs of them, and given a month, millions and millions of requests go to their server. That means the bookings, can I call this as a booking, my dear friends? Placing an order, if I am placing an order for anything, right? If I place an order, delivery में जो order place करूंगा, so that's a booking, right? On their platform, that is a booking.
Yes.
Yes.
है ना? Can I say there are millions of bookings that are placed?
Yes.
Yes.
अपने को लगता है, और पब्लिक को भी बहुत सारे बेचारे, देखो ये हर कोई सक्सीड नहीं होता प्रोडक्ट बनाकर बेचने. जो लोग ये समझते हैं कि हमको एक मोबाइल ऐप बनाना है और हम सक्सेस हो जाएंगे और डेटाबेस में स्टोर करेंगे डेटा, वैसे सक्सेस नहीं आता. व्हाई जोमैटो इज सक्सेसफुल एंड व्हाई कंपनीज लाइक जोमैटो आर सक्सेसफुल? बिकॉज ये तो एंड कस्टमर को जोमैटो का ऐप दिखता है एंड वी प्लेस द ऑर्डर. आप लोगों को अच्छे से पता है, यहाँ मेरे पास सुबह होती नहीं, बिकॉज आई ऑर्डर लॉट, सुबह होती नहीं है तो जोमैटो के मेरे को एड्स आना शुरू हो जाते हैं जोमैटो के, और वो मुझे एंटाइज करता है कि आज यहाँ का मसाला डोसा, आज उधर का मसाला डोसा, ये नया रेस्टोरेंट खुला है, डिस्काउंट्स के ऑफर्स आते हैं मुझे, और मुझे क्या, सभी को आता है. Okay, there is one more participant who has joined in. So welcome to the program, Sabha. Sabha has joined from UK. She is in London. And Sabha भी सोच रही है, और उसके लिए बहुत मॉर्निंग है. सबा कितने बजे अभी वहां पे?
6 a.m.
6 a.m. और मैं क्या बता रहा हूँ आपको?
मुंबई नाका.
Okay, chalo. So what I'm saying is that those millions of requests that happen during the entire, whatever the time period is, and they are supposed to give me, announce or run campaigns. Note my words, Zomato runs campaigns of discounts, and there are various different types of campaigns that they run, and personalized messages भेजते हैं. Shakir, how about a savory today in the morning of masala dosa or something like that? Now these kind of, कैसे कोई बैठा है वहां पे जो मेरे को मैसेज भेज रहा है? How do they know? How do they know that what kind of campaigns are to be run in which region, for which dishes? किसको क्या? मैंने अगर चाइनीज ज्यादा खाता हूं मैं और ज्यादा मंगाता हूं तो मुझे उसी की एड ज्यादा आएगी. और कभी किसी दिन मैंने कोई मसाला डोसा ढूंढ रहा था लेकिन ऑर्डर नहीं किया, तो नेक्स्ट 3-4 दिन तक के मेरे को याद दिलाएगा, व्हाई डोंट यू ट्राई दिस मसाला डोसा ओवर हियर. कैसे उसको ये सब पता चलता है? पूरा ऑटोमेटेड सिस्टम है. And this automated system running these campaigns is impossible. Note my words very carefully. It is impossible till the time they do not analyze. Till the time they do not analyze those millions of requests that comes onto their server and stored somewhere in the database or stored somewhere or the other. जो millions of requests आती है, उसको प्रोसेस करके जब तक कि वो एनालाइज नहीं करेंगे, they will not be able to run these kind of campaigns. Are we all on the same page?
Yes.
Analysis is important.
Yes.
अब ये एनालिसिस जब करेंगे, किस तरह का एनालिसिस होगा? अभी सब भाई मैं मेरे हिसाब से फेंक रहा हूँ, बिकॉज मैं ये अपन ये जोमेटो की इंडस्ट्री में नहीं है हम लोग. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, विच इज द काइंड ऑफ डिश विच इज सोल्ड मोस्ट इन सो एंड सो रीजन? What are the timings during which, what are the peak timings when people make an order in which particular region? For example, I'm sure उनका एनालिसिस में ये भी होगा कि बड़ौदा जैसी और गुजरात में, where there are more people from Jain community would be preferring Jain type of food. Do you think चेन्नई में वो लोग Jain food का एडवर्टाइज भेजेंगे?
No.
कैसे ये एनालिसिस करेंगे? कोई आदमी वहां पे अकेला एक बंदा या 100 लोग नहीं बैठे हैं वहां पे. They analyze the data that gets gathered over a period of time, right, through the request that comes to the server, through the transactions that happen. This is better word. Through the transactions. So when transactions happen, there are millions of transactions that are happening. And in order to sustain their, in order to have a sustainable growth, they need to run ad campaigns. They need to run customer loyalty programs. What is customer loyalty program? You go to Shopper Stop and you buy something. They give you, hey, you are our member. 10,000 रुपए का खरीदी कर लो, you become our member. You become our member, ठीक है. You become the member and then they will keep on sending you gifts and vouchers and this and that, so that you are loyal to Shopper Stop. कल को टी-शर्ट खरीदना है तो first thing that must come to your mind is Shopper Stop. That's called gaining the loyalty of the customer. तो कस्टमर लॉयल्टी प्रोग्राम्स चलाते हैं. ये कस्टमर लॉयल्टी प्रोग्राम्स, ये एड कैंपेन्स, ये सब कैसे चलाएंगे? ओनली बेस्ड ऑन द एनालिसिस दैट दे डू ऑफ दीज मिलियंस ऑफ ट्रांजैक्शंस दैट हैपन. वो डेटा को डिग करते हैं. अब कैसे करते हैं? मैन्युअली बैठ के करते हैं? कोई बैठ के कोई सिलेक्ट स्टेटमेंट, कोई क्वेरी एग्जीक्यूट करता है? नहीं. एनालिटिक्स के टूल्स यूज होते हैं. And I hope it is crystal clear, and I hope this is very natural and very, very simple, fundamental thing for every one of us to understand. That when analytics happen, अच्छा एक बात बताओ, मेरे डेटाबेस में 100 रिकॉर्ड्स हैं. Do I need a software to analyze it, or I can just open the query browser and see the 100 records, and as a human I will be able to analyze it? Come on. Do I need a tool or I don't need a tool? 100 records are there in my database.
Don't need a tool.
No need of tool.
You need a tool. But when there are millions of records, it is impossible, practically impossible for any human being to do any kind of analysis on data that has got millions of records. So possibly नहीं है, तो आपको tools चाहिए. अच्छा, so that's what I was saying. I am sure that this fundamental point is crystal clear. In fact, I'm sure आप लोगों को समझ में आ चुका होगा अभी कि when analysis is supposed to be done, some kind of a tool that does analysis on these millions of transactions, that means this analysis happens on the data that is big. Am I right? The analysis is supposed to happen on the data that is, one word answer. Come on, all of you must type. That is what? Big. That's where the term big data comes into picture. ये big data है. So big data is all about end requirement. क्या है? ब्राउजर, ये एप्लीकेशन क्यों बनाया आपने? So that user can place orders. मोबाइल ऐप क्यों बनाया जोमेटो का? So that user can place orders. सर्विसेज क्यों लिखा आपने? ये सब सर्विसेज क्यों लिखा आपने? So that when the order is placed, you save it in the database. Correct? Similarly, आपका बिग डेटा का जो सॉफ्टवेयर सॉल्यूशन है वो क्यों बनाते हैं? फॉर एनालिटिक्स. फॉर एनालिटिक्स. अभी ये जो हम लोगों ने एनालिटिक्स का अपन ने जो बनाया है, ये एनालिटिक्स है. ये अपनी टीम ने कोड लिखा है, आप लोगों ने ही लिखा है, ये सब कोड लिखा है इन ऑर्डर टू प्लान इतना है, ट्रांजेक्शन इतना है, कंप्लीट आप लोगों ने लिखा है, ये सब ऑन टाइम इतना है, ये सब इनवॉइसेस है, ये सब आप लोगों ने लिखा है, ये सब पूरा आपने लिखा है, ये पूरा राइट। तो ये एंड अभी आप लोगों ने लिखा है तो भी आप बोलोगे क्यों हम लोग ये प्रोग्राम कर रहे हैं, बिकॉज ये कैसे लिखा है आपको अपने को पता है, हम लोगों ने यही टेक्नोलॉजी यूज करके लिखा है। एट द मोस्ट हमने काफका डाला है, यस हमने फिर भी बहुत अच्छा काम किया, हमने काफका भी यूज किया है साथ में। अब मैं उसमें डिटेल्स में नहीं जाता कि काफका क्यों क्या यूज किया, इसके ऑन टॉप ऑफ दिस वी हैव यूज्ड काफका आल्सो, बट देन अदरवाइज यही आर्किटेक्चर। डू यू थिंक ये तो हमने बनाने को फटाफट बनाना था, हमने ये बना बहुत अच्छा बनाया, ब्यूटीफुल फंटास्टिक परफॉर्मेंस, बट अभी अभी प्रभाकर से आई वांट टू सेल दिस प्लेटफॉर्म टू 10 डिफरेंट कस्टमर्स, 100 कस्टमर्स इन 5 years डाउन द लाइन, तो ये आर्किटेक्चर नहीं चलेगा ना, बिकॉज वी आर डीलिंग विद बिग डेटा, और बिग डेटा का अपना ही आर्किटेक्चरल चैलेंजेस है, तो ये आर्किटेक्चर नहीं चलेगा। बट कमिंग बैक टू द पॉइंट, what is the point over here? You want to provide analytics. This is what it is. You want to provide analytics on that data which is big, so that businesses can take a decision. अभी शिपमेंट बाय कैरियर्स वो देखेंगे तो उनको पता चलता है कि मैक्सिमम बिजनेस हम कर रहे हैं मर्स्क के साथ, तो हो सकता है मर्स्क के साथ कुछ और वो जाके और बात करें और उनका बिजनेस उनका एनहांस करे। इंपोर्ट्स इतने हो रहे, एक्सपोर्ट्स इतना हो रहा है, तो उनको समझ में आता है कि कुछ बिजनेस डिसीजन लेंगे बेस्ड ऑन दिस डेटा। करेक्ट? So far so good. Now I will tell you what are the challenges with this. We can still use these set of technologies. In fact, that's what we have done. We have used these set of technologies in order to build this. But then क्या challenges है इसके अंदर? इसके अंदर सबसे बड़ा challenge, $1 million point बता रहा हूँ, मिस नहीं करना। तो fail very important for you. Atik very important. Murli has already understood this. Everyone else very important. सबसे बड़ा चैलेंज क्या है? जो डेटाबेस से ये एनालिटिक्स आ रहा है वही डेटाबेस में अपडेट्स जा रहे हैं एंड उसी डेटाबेस में से प्रोसेसिंग होके, फॉर एग्जांपल ये वाला जो नंबर है 5910 10,000, ये जो एग्रीगेशन का लॉजिक रन हो रहा है वो उसी डेटाबेस पे रन हो रहा है जिसमें नया डेटा भी आ रहा है। सो the processing of the data or the processing of that complex and time consuming logic, compute intensive logic, and the updates and inserts are all happening on the same database. We don't want that, and it will become practically not possible. Also not possible. Why? Because in terms of performance बहुत घटिया हो जाएगा अगर हम लोग ये पूरा लॉजिक एट द सेम पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम, मतलब इन शॉर्ट प्रोसेसिंग ऑफ द डेटा एंड अपडेट्स एंड इंसर्ट एंड एवरीथिंग, ऑल दैट बिग डेटा का जो प्रोसेसिंग है वो हम लोग इसी एक डेटाबेस पे और इसी यहाँ पर इसी बिजनेस सर्विसेज इसी डीओ में इसी एप्लीकेशन में करते रहेंगे। सो स्केलेबिलिटी नहीं मिलेगा, परफॉर्मेंस खराब हो जाएगा। आज सिर्फ ट्रांसवर्ल्ड इज देयर ऑन दिस प्लेटफॉर्म, कल को ट्रांसवर्ल्ड जैसी 10 कंपनीज आ गई तो ये फटेगा and scalability नहीं होगा। For that reason, I repeat, for that reason, not only we, the world, they build. So अब मैं इसको नीचे ले लेता हूँ। Okay, I'll bring this down. The world builds. What do they build? They build a big data platform. What do they build? मैं यहाँ से काफका निकाल देता हूँ। I'll say microservices based REST applications. Okay, ये मैंने यहाँ डाल दिया और यहाँ पे अभी मैं डाल रहा हूँ बिग डेटा एप्लीकेशंस। बिग डेटा, what is the objective? What is the objective? बताओ। The objective is this, that all the processing of the data must happen here and not here. So we will segregate the two. We will process the data here and still put it over here in Oracle. अभी Oracle तो नहीं है हमारा, अच्छा मैं इसको तो यही रखता हूँ Oracle, but यहाँ पे specialized database होगा, and that specialized database, there are two databases that we will have. Redshift is the database, which is a data warehouse. This is a special database which is capable of processing records which are in millions. And also we will have another database which will have which will work as an operational data store. Operational data यहाँ पर होगा, that is in MongoDB. लेकिन यहाँ पर भी डेटा डालने से पहले इसका जो कॉम्प्लेक्स प्रोसेसिंग होगा वो प्रोसेसिंग यहाँ पर होगा, बिग डेटा में होगा. बिग डेटा एप्लीकेशन, आई जस्ट कॉल इट अ बिग डेटा एप्लीकेशन फॉर नाउ. ये क्लियर है? सो फार सो गुड? वी आर क्लियर?
Yes.
सेग्रीगेट कर लिया. तो अब जब डेटा MongoDB में और रेडशिफ्ट में आ गया, तो अब ये जो सर्विसेज है ना, इट विल जस्ट गेट द डेटा फ्रॉम रेडशिफ्ट, जुप करके, एंड रेडशिफ्ट इज वेरी पावरफुल इन परफॉर्मिंग फास्ट क्वेरीज, और हमारा एनालिटिक्स एकदम फास्ट हो जाएगा. कल को नए कस्टमर्स आते हैं, ट्रांसफर इज वन कस्टमर ऑन दिस प्लेटफॉर्म, कल को 10 और कस्टमर्स आते हैं, तो ये जो पूरा डेटा है, ये जो पूरा है, यहाँ पर हमारा इंप्लीमेंटेशन नहीं होगा, बिग डेटा प्रोसेसिंग, उनके डेटा का प्रोसेसिंग यहाँ पर होगा, which will again end up populating the same set of databases, MongoDB and Redshift. So processing logic of big data, the computation, the aggregation, the reduction, and all of that is implemented over here, which is completely segregated as compared to the business logic that is implemented while rendering the data to a mobile app or an Angular application. ये इसके साथ मिक्स नहीं, right? अभी एक और चीज. So what are the components of big data? Just in case of a RESTful application, these are the components of a RESTful application, right? What are the components? You've got an Angular app, you've got an Ionic based, mobile app, or maybe React Native based. Then you have all of these other components, which are there over here. You've got business services, data access objects, REST controllers. All of these things are there in a microservices based RESTful application. What are the components that you have over here? तो ये जो है ना, ये देखो, ये जो है KPI, this is one KPI, this is another KPI, this is another KPI. What does KPI stand for? Key performance indicator. Key performance indicator, not API. I'm saying KPI, key performance indicator. Matlab, this is the indication, this provides the indication of the performance in business. What is the performance of the business? This is an indication of it. 16,000 bookings हुई है current year में. This indicates the performance of the business. That is the reason it is called key performance indicator. अच्छा, on time 60% arrival and departure 71% departure on time हुआ. This is the indication of the performance of the business. अगर ये 50% से कम हो गया या 50%, then chairman sir will say, hey, very good, Charu has also joined. Hi Charu, welcome. Hi Charu, welcome to the program. Am I audible, Charu?
Yes, you're audible. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Shakir. Sorry, I just saw your email, so I joined in between.
Absolutely, most welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just to recap, I have just given everyone the overview, though my team is all aware of this, but then still I'm putting everything in context.
Mm-hmm.
My team is already expert. Our teams, I'll call it our team. We are all a family. So our team is already expert in building this.
Right.
Okay, building these kind of applications. They're expert. They've been doing that since ages, and they are excellent in that. And this visualization, I don't want to use that word immediately now, but then whatever we have developed over here, this analytics, this platform GVP is again developed using these technologies. So
Okay.
I am putting in context, why a big data application? Why big data? Why big data based application? That's what I'm putting in perspective. So my team, Murli is, one who already understands this. He's there on the call. Atik understands to a good extent, but everyone else, I want to bring them onto the same level as far as big data things are concerned. Right?
Right.
That's the objective of this training. And that's where we are. So coming back to the point over here, I was saying that, I was explaining to the team, and now I'll continue on that. So 16,998 bookings, this is the indication of the performance of the business. 70% departure on time, 60% on departure on time. Now it's quite possible the chairman sir sees this and says, hey, 60% is bad. We must achieve 90%. 90% time, 90% of the bookings must arrive on time. Where are we going wrong? Find it out. So this indicates the performance of the business, and this is critical to run the business. That is the reason we call it key performance indicator. Similarly, your invoices, this is the total outstanding and this is the overdue. They understand, okay, agar overdue bahut zyada hai, they'll say, okay, come on, chase salespeople to talk to the customer and say, okay, release our payments. So it indicates the performance of the business. Likewise, it indicates the performance of, the different aspects of the business, bookings related performance, and then transport, performance related performance, and transit time analysis and stuff. All of this is the key, and all of these are key indicators of the business, of the performance. That is the reason why we call it KPIs. Now, the point that I'm making here is this. These KPIs are built, each one of these KPI is built in whatever technology, right? Whatever technology we might have used to build these KPIs. But all in all, a term is used for such applications. For these kind of applications, a term is used, and wherein you have got these kind of charts, and you have got these kind of, all of these key performance indicators are put in different types of charts, a pie chart, a bar chart, as you can see over here. There are various different types of charts available over here, right? Different types of charts available over here. So a special term is used for these kind of applications, user applications. I mean, these kind of user interfaces which the end user uses. There is a special term used. It's called visualization. I repeat, a term that is used here is, my dear friends, visualization. So this visualization, there are special tools available. Visualization tools available. So this is something that we have done custom, and we will have to keep doing custom, because you cannot get everything out of the box from every tool. So we may have to, we will have to continue doing this custom. But then you see this, you do have special tools like Superset. We do have okay. See this, these are visualization tools. Can you see the dashboards here? For example, let me take the dashboard of bookings. Ye dekho, ye visualization tool hai. Charu is now expert on this. Tawfiq is expert on this. Tufail is expert on this. These are visualization tools. So this visualization is the end product that the user sees. But ye jo data aa raha hai, this visualization that is happening out of the data that is there in some database. And that data is processed. And now tell me, friends, so here we've got Angular app and this and that. What do you think I should be putting over here? Ideally, the user interface, what is that known as? Visualization tools. Come on. Visualization. So I'll just use this one thing in term called visualization. Like यहाँ पे Angular app है, ये है. This is what we talked about. See, a browser app over here, or maybe Zomato based, a mobile app which is for Zomato. That's what the application is in order to carry out the transactions. But in order to analyze those millions of transactions in some meaningful way, in terms of in the form of KPIs, key performance indicators, what are the user interface? What these kind of UI tools known as? What are they known as? Come on, friends, visualization tools. Visualization platforms, or visualization. You just simply call it visualization. So this visualization also actually talks to what? Redshift. It will talk to MongoDB. It will talk to Redshift, and it will get the data. But ये data यहाँ पर आएगा कहाँ से? ये data कहाँ से आएगा? Do you think this is the same data that gets the moment the user keeps on putting the transaction, you will keep on inserting the data in Redshift? No, not necessarily. The data will keep on going in Oracle or maybe MongoDB or whatever. So you need to take this data periodically, and you've got to take that data and process that data and then put it into things like MongoDB and Redshift. Especially, let's talk about Redshift. You're supposed to put it in databases like Redshift. So now you need to write some components which will get the data and process it and then put it here in Redshift. For what purpose? For the purpose of visualization. And the data that you are processing is so huge that you need some special frameworks. I repeat, you need some special frameworks, some special tools, some special technologies which will help you to process the data in a in blazing fast speed. It must be blazing fast, it must be accurate, it must be efficient, and you must be able to keep on updating the data sets here in Redshift so that the visualization can get the data from here and present the KPIs, the key performance indicators. So that's what we do over here. That's the kind of logic we write over here. So like you write business services over here, which validates and which implements the business logic with respect to each transaction, we write some logic over here in some components. We write some logic over here, which processes that huge amount of data and populates Redshift. Now that huge amount of, so far so good. Any questions, any doubts? Any questions, any doubts? Please feel free to ask. So we need to write this special. So what is the difference? Major difference, friends. This is the kind of component that will deal perhaps at a given point in time with maybe 1 million rows. Perhaps you might have written some logic over here, which will take 1 million rows and group it by customer and get the total number of bookings that were done for a particular customer and updates it in Redshift. Perhaps. See how different this is. So the kind of logic that I've just talked about, the kind of computation that I've talked about over here is way different as compared to the business logic that you would implement in order to validate a particular booking that is getting into your system. बात समझ में आ रही है? Different है ना? कितना difference है? Here you are talking about writing some component, writing some logic, writing something, some code which is going to process some huge amount of data and populate Redshift, whereas over here you are just talking about writing the business logic. Again, not just, I'm not demeaning it, but then yes, you need to write logic over here which will deal with one record at one point of time, one transaction at one point of time. Here you're talking about dealing with and processing millions of transactions and updating something. Huge difference. So it cannot, the architecture, the approach, the frameworks, the tools, the technology that you would use in order to do this are way different as compared to what you do over here. इसके लिए मैंने पूरा 1 घंटा पूरा कहानी सुनाया. Otherwise, you all are experts already in this. But why did I spend so much of time? So that you understand कि लिखने को तो इसमें भी big data लिख सकते हैं. Yes or no? लिखा ही है ना? लिखा ही है. ये sorry, ये नहीं. लिखा ही है ना हमने. बट ये स्केलेबल होगा? स्केलेबल नहीं होगा. कॉन्टेक्स्ट समझ में आ रहा है सबके? कम ऑन अतिक.
Yes.
तो ये स्पेशल है. तो यहाँ पे प्लीज रिकलेक्ट आई डिड से, अगर जावा है तो हम लोग क्या यूज करते हैं? फ्रेमवर्क यूज करते हैं कॉल्ड स्प्रिंग बूट.
Yes.
राइट. और अब यहाँ पर है तो यहाँ पे भी कोई फ्रेमवर्क चाहिए. सो वो फ्रेमवर्क जो है दैट इज स्पार्क. क्या है फ्रेमवर्क का नाम? स्पार्क. तो माय डियर फ्रेंड्स, अभी अपनी टीम में अपने quite a few members are already expert on this. This is the training program where I want to bring everyone onto this. I want everyone, because this is the approach that we've already taken, friends. We are always, we have tried our best to make sure that everyone is cross-skilled. अपनी जैसी छोटी कंपनियों को अगर तरक्की करना है, if you're going to become big, our teams must be cross-skilled. सबको सब आना चाहिए, राइट? और उसी में मजा है, उसी में धमाल है, उसी में तो मोनोटोनी नहीं होगी. अदरवाइज पर्सन विल बिकम मोनोटोनस. सो ये देखो स्पार्क है. स्पार्क इज द फ्रेम. सो यू गाइस, अच्छा पप्पू है, सब सिंपल है एकदम, कोई बड़ी चीज नहीं है, कोई बड़ी चीज नहीं है. आई वुड लाइक टू सिंप्लीफाई दिस फॉर यू गाइस, राइट? कोई भी चीज पहली बार स्टार्ट करो तो बड़ी लगेगी आपको. Just recollect the day when very first time you started with Spring Boot? Tufail, do you remember? Atik, do you remember? It was a big deal.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, so many years down the line, it's like next to breathing for you. Hope my statement makes sense.
Yes.
It's like next to breathing. Writing a RESTful API, writing a business service, writing a DAO is like next to breathing. उसी तरह से Spark आज हो सकता है आपको बड़ा लगे, but it will become like next to breathing for you guys as we proceed further. It will be like next to breathing. Okay, it's going to be fun. But एक चीज दिमाग में रख लो, यहाँ पे we are not processing एक transaction that is coming over the network. We are processing transactions which are huge. In fact, I will not call it transactions. Transactions are already accumulated somewhere. Okay, वो भी उसके बारे में बात बात है. But then in short, you're dealing with huge amount of data. That's the point. You're dealing with huge amount of data. Right? So we are learning. So you may have n number of such components here. N number of such components here. Right? And your big data application. Now, जैसा यहाँ पर है देखो, you have got a RESTful API. You know what a RESTful API is. You all know it's a REST controller that we implement. And the moment the request comes in, it has got a particular pattern. Based on the pattern, the framework understands which particular RESTful API will be invoked. And that RESTful API in turn makes a call to the business service. Business service makes a call to the DAO. Different types of components. ये भी Java, ये भी Java, ये भी Java. All the three are running under the framework of Spring Boot. Agreed. But सबका रोल अलग अलग है कि नहीं है? अतीक, तुफैल, सब, अजहर,
Yes.
सबका रोल अलग अलग है ना. तो वैसे डोंट यू थिंक यहाँ पर भी कंपोनेंट्स होंगे, कुछ कंपोनेंट का कुछ रोल होगा, कुछ कंपोनेंट का कुछ रोल होगा, कुछ कंपोनेंट का कुछ रोल होगा. यस और नो?
Yes.
हाँ. तो अभी बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग, ये जो डेटा हमारे पास आ रहा है, whatever data that is coming over here into this big data application, so that we can, that huge amount of data that is coming to us, the huge amount of data that will be processed by the component over here, where is that data coming from? So that data is coming from OTM, right? In our case, that data is coming from OTM. Tomorrow, if Prabhakar brings a customer that does not run on OTM, suppose they have got SAP, then in that case, the data will come from SAP. Suppose he onboards a customer on this platform that runs on Blue Yonder. Blue Yonder is a very big ERP. I don't know whether you all know about this or not. Blue Yonder, it's a very, very big and very fantastic, ERP for logistics. Blue Yonder. The world's commerce runs on Blue Yonder supply chain cloud, right? Okay, coming back over here. So whatever, right? Whatever these ERPs are, so the data will come from here. Because the transactions that get created through such an application on with their software solutions, they get accumulated over here. The data gets accumulated over here. So this becomes the source of the data. I hope so far so good. Finally, objective क्या है कि visualization बताना है यहाँ पे. Visualization tool पर ये data को analyze करके बताना है. So now it will go through this entire big data application. You will have some components which will take care of ingesting the data. That is called ingestion, data ingestion. Right? See, data ingestion. I have always, see, ingestion, the process of taking food, drink, or another substance into the body. Ingestion, data ingestion, we're taking the data into the big data system. Right? Take this from me, friends. This is what I have always done in my entire career. Whenever anything new comes to me, I first ask myself whether I understand the literal meaning of that term. If yes, I proceed. If no, first I open the dictionary and find the meaning of it. So you all have to do the same thing. These Japanese and Russians are quite ahead of us in technology. Chinese also, so to say. Why? why Japanese and Russians are ahead of us in technology. The reason being they train and they educate their masses in their own mother tongue. Here we are still stuck with English. Anyway, that's a different point. But it helps a lot when you train your people in your own mother tongue. जब हमारे बच्चों को नहीं समझ में आता और हमको नहीं समझ में आता, it is because the lack of knowledge in we don't understand that English term. Otherwise, not that we are less intelligent than Japanese and Russians. It's just that the medium of teaching is not our mother tongue. So always accept the fact that English is not our mother tongue. And whenever you find anything difficult, first ask yourself, have you understood the literal meaning of it? If yes, it helps. Now in Spark itself, there is a function called coalesce. अभी थोड़े दिन पहले की बात है, came across coalesce is the function. I was doubtful of the meaning of coalesce. सबसे पहले क्या करना है मुझे? मैं यहाँ पे देखूंगा coalesce का क्या मतलब है. कोई देखो स्पेलिंग भी नहीं आती अपने को. Coalesce, right? Coalesce, come together to form one mass or whole. अच्छा, coalescing साथ में ला. अब वो फंक्शन का मतलब स्पार्क में भी समझ में आने लगी. So data ingestion. So data is supposed to be ingested from here. So I will have some components which will do the data ingestion. I will have some components after the data is ingested. जो data यहाँ पर, I hope you all are all with me, friends. All there with me?
Yes.
Yep. Yes.
Don't worry, I'll give you a break after some time. 10 minute का break दूंगा मैं आपको, tea break. Data ingest जो होगा और जो data visualization पे चाहिए, do you think it's going to be in the same format?
No.
No.
If that was the case, good, it is not in the same format, or else they wouldn't have given us the project. Right? Charu is there on the call. She would have just taken the data from here and imported it in the database. एक command से import हो जाएगा, and she would have developed the visualization. Apache Superset is also free source, open source, free tool. So what is our job? Our job is to transform the data that is ingested into the system such that we can use it for visualization. I will repeat my point. ये crux of the matter. The format in which the data is ingested, we are supposed to transform. We are supposed to transform. One more time, we are supposed to transform that data into simplified data structures that can be used by visualization. One last time I'll repeat. Our job is to write a transformers, transform the data that is ingested into such a format, into more simplified data structure, so that it can be used by the visualization. Whether custom visualization or Apache Superset, whatever the case is, eventually you end up firing a query to Redshift, which returns to you some data, out of which you create a chart. Here also, it's the same thing that we have done, right? This pie chart and this chart and this and this, all of this, right? All of these charts, how have we built it? Firing queries to the database, getting the data, and we are building this chart out of this. Simple. We are building this bar chart out of this. Simple. Correct. But then, do you think the data that we are getting from OTM is in such a format that no, not at all? वो कौन से format में? वो ऐसे भयंकर format में. ऐसे भयंकर format में, which is perfect. Not that OTM is wrong in giving. OTM is not meant for visualization. ना OTM का अपना ये है, right? ये सबकी दुकान चलती है. सबका, तो विजुअलाइजेशन वालों की दुकान चलती है, बिग डेटा वालों की दुकान चलती है, मोबाइल ऐप बनाने वालों की दुकान चलती है. एक पर्टिकुलर सॉफ्टवेयर सॉल्यूशन में सब नहीं हो सकता ना. ऐसा है, सबके सब प्रोग्रामर्स का जॉब है. ऐसा है. सो एवरीथिंग इज वेल एंड वाइजली पुट बाय गॉड द ऑलमाइटी. तो देखो ये फॉर्मेट में डेटा आता है व्हेन यू फायर एन एपीआई. But this format and the format in which you want visualization, huge, way different. ये आपको ट्रांसफॉर्मर्स लिखना है. So आपको कुछ कंपोनेंट्स लिखने हैं फॉर इंजेक्शन, कुछ कंपोनेंट्स लिखने हैं फॉर ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन, एंड कुछ कंपोनेंट्स लिखने हैं टू लोड इन द डेटाबेस. तो आपने ट्रांसफॉर्म तो कर लिया, अभी आपको पास कुछ लॉजिक होना चाहिए कि ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन के बाद जब सिंप्लीफाइड डेटा स्ट्रक्चर, यू आर सपोज्ड टू अपडेट योर रेडशिफ्ट. So then, and you will also find people calling it as ETL. What do they call it? ETL. What is ETL? Extract. Getting the data from somewhere, extracting the data from perhaps OTM, right? You can call it ETL. Extract. What is the next term? Transform. T stands for transform and L stands for load. So you extract the data from the source, transform the data so that it can be used for visualization and further analytics, complex analytics. And you've got to, after transformation is done, you've got to load it somewhere so that the visualization tool can work on that data source, on that database. So extract, transform and load. There are एक टूल है जो बहुत एक्सटेंसिवली यूज होता था, बहुत बरसों से होता, अभी तो वो बेचारा पुराना हो गया। इन्फॉर्मेटिका अभी भी यूज होता है, लेकिन काफी जो लोग यूज करते हैं इन्फॉर्मेटिका। इन्फॉर्मेटिका इट इज डेट, अभी भी यूज होता है। मैं नहीं यूज करता हूँ, मुझे लगता है कोई यूज नहीं करता। ऑफ कोर्स यूज होता है, बट आई डोंट नो हाउ सक्सेसफुल they are against the modern technologies and the offerings that are from Google platform and from AWS and stuff. So yeah, data chaos, data clarity, Informatica, बहुत use होता है. I've seen people doing trainings and charging 50,000 rupees per day for Informatica training. नहीं फ्रिज में रखी, घर में है. Thank you. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so this is all right. So Abhi, fine. So coming back over here, my dear friends, coming back over here. So this is what you are supposed to learn.
Shakir, sorry to interrupt. I have one question here.
Oh, sure.
Say OTM will be having a different language, and maybe Spark will be having a different language when we write it. So is there a tool we use, or Spark itself is intelligent enough to understand the different languages? And sorry,
Superb question. Superb question. Brilliant. You must know this, and everyone. अब मेरी टीम में तो इनको तो पता ही है, फिर भी everyone must know this. Good question. Because I have one person joining this training program who has just 1st May was his 2 days back, immediately after Eid, Monday was his first day. Yesterday was his first day. Musharraf. He has just joined in, So for him, this question would really, answering this question would really help. See, the data that comes from any such platforms comes via APIs. So this OTM has got APIs. We invoke those APIs and get the data, which is in JSON format, like this. This is that JSON format. So this OTM and SAP and Blue Yonder might have been implemented in whatever language, we don't care. But from our platform, we will be making a call to the APIs of OTM, which will always return a JSON. We make a call to SAP, it will always return a JSON. We make a call to Blue Yonder, it will always return a JSON. But OTM APIs are different, SAP APIs are different, and Blue Yonder APIs are different. So we will have to write some code which will talk to OTM and understand the JSON that is written by OTM. We need to write some components which will invoke the APIs on SAP and understand the JSON that is written by SAP. And then so as far as the programming language is concerned, it's RESTful API. It's not a programming language. It's the HTTP call that we make. It's an HTTP request that we make. Hey, give me the list of all the bookings in last 3 days. I invoke that API. We invoke that API. We get the data. How do we get the data? We get the data in this format, in JSON format. And this JSON format that OTM returns would be different as compared to what SAP would return or what Blue Yonder may return. So we have to write components which understands the JSON returned by OTM, which understands the JSON returned by SAP, and which understands the Blue Yonder as well. All are there on the call, right? 14 participants were there. I see that.
Yep.
Yes.
Who got dropped?
14.
It seems Snehal got dropped. Okay. You're there? Okay. No problem. Maybe because of internet connectivity, people keep. Okay, so this is how it is. I hope that answers the question, Charu.
Yes. So which language Spark would be using when we'll get the data here?
Super, super. So Spark is a framework
Okay.
which is built in Scala. Spark itself is built in Scala.
Okay.
Scala is the programming language, which is a
Okay.
JVM based language. What does that mean is that I write my code in a programming language called Scala, but when I eventually run it, it runs in the JVM, Java Virtual Machine,
Okay.
right? But what have they done? They have written, I'm not getting the right word here. There is a technical term for it. They have written bridges. Let me call it a bridge now. Let me call it a bridge, such that for Spark framework, I can write code in Python. I can write code in Java. I can write code in Scala, and I can write code in R. R is again a programming language. R, very powerful. I can write. So they have written bridge. So if suppose I am a Java programmer and not comfortable with Scala, I can write all the code under the sun, which one would have written in Scala. I can write that same code, but in Java programming language, and then it further assembles it when I run it, when I build it, it will convert it to Scala internally and then execute it. But finally, it gets converted to Scala. Python also, I can write it in Python. So there is something called PySpark, which interprets the Python code and converts it into the bytecode that is understood by the runtime environment, the JVM runtime environment, and likewise R also. But then anyone who wants to write real big, and sophisticated applications on Spark would prefer writing it in Scala itself. Why? Because Spark itself is built in Scala.
Okay. Understood.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's all.
So, does Spark have any competitors, or is this the only tool we have to create a
Again, good
framework?
question. Before Spark was Hadoop MapReduce.
Okay.
Hadoop was a big data, is a big data platform, not was, it is a big data platform.
Yeah.
MapReduce is one of the components of that Hadoop ecosystem. When I say Hadoop is an ecosystem, it is an ecosystem having quite a few components. बहुत कुछ है उसका भी. So उसके अंदर MapReduce एक framework है. What is that MapReduce? Map means you are transforming the data. Reduce means you're reducing it using aggregates. You aggregate it, you count it, you average it out, you sum it up. That's called reduction. So you transform the data and you reduce it. That's called MapReduce framework. So that was already in place. Millions of lines of code already written. People were happy and stuff and all. But they built something more sophisticated called Spark. So these days, if it's a new initiative of a big data application, a big data platform, you will find people not using Hadoop, MapReduce, rather they are using Spark. And again, Spark is influenced from that Hadoop MapReduce. It's the next generation thing, you may call it, right? But yes, Spark, there is... Murli, is there a competitor to Spark? I don't think so.
Yes, you see, there's Apache Flink. Flink is another
Okay.
competitor of Spark. So
Okay.
you can do the same type of things which you're doing with Spark. You can do with Apache Flink also.
Okay. Apache Flink is excited engineering algorithm. What is Apache Flink architecture? This is a framework distributed processing engine for stateful computations over unbounded and bounded data streams. अच्छा, streaming के लिए in fact ये ज़्यादा है.
For streaming data processing, you get better performance in Flink compared to Spark. Because if you see internally, when you have a streaming, the Spark runs in micro batches, right?
Yeah.
You say micro batches, instantly the moment you messages gets ingested, it is not really getting processed in Spark. So you have to make a micro batch of 1 or 2 messages. But in Flink, you get that freedom of instant processing. The moment a message gets landed, instantly it gets processed. So for really where streaming is very important, where your objective is to get a really fast analytics based on streaming analytics, then you would probably go for Apache Flink. right?
Can I write Apache Flink based code the way I write in Spark and deploy it on EMR?
Yes, EMR does support the Flink framework also. Yes. So basically, when you set up an EMR, so it will ask for whether you want a Spark or a Flink, right? So you can do that.
Super, super. Crystal. Now, what is streaming? So he has just used, and we just talked about streaming. What is streaming? देखो एक चीज है, बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है ये, बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग पॉइंट है. OTM के अंदर डेटा तो डेली बेसिस पे बुकिंग आ रही है, बन रहा है, correct? We will write some code over here. We call it, I call it client application, and that's how the term is used, client application. Or you may name it as whatever you want. This is the application that talks to OTM, for example. And it fires APIs after every, suppose say 10 minutes. So whatever are the new bookings that are created, it will get those new bookings. And that the moment it gets the booking, it will put it into the big data system. Now, the moment it gets 3 new bookings, will it be immediately available in the visualization? That's the question. Streaming means stream. पानी बह रहा है. Stream मतलब the moment 3 नया इधर आया, the next moment transformation वगैरह सब होके इधर दिख जाना चाहिए. That is called streaming. That is called streaming. But batch processing क्या होगा? इधर से डेटा आया, हमने बिग डेटा में डाला. After every half an hour, जो नया डेटा आया, that will get transformed and will get updated over here. So you will get stale data at the most. तो अभी अगर मैंने देखा है, तो हो सकता है अभी मेरा batch process अभी चला होगा. My batch process might have just got executed, and I am seeing that data. But then 30 minutes तक के ये data updated नहीं होगा. So when my next batch runs, and which executes this entire thing, after 30 minutes, and when this is updated, I will get the latest data. But in case of streaming, as the data keeps on getting created and getting ingested, वो वहाँ पे visualization में दिखेगा. That is the difference between streaming and batch processing. हमने AWS के साथ हम लोगों ने मीटिंग वगैरह किया था, AWS के साथ, और we were actually initially we spent a lot of time on streaming only. We wanted to implement this entire thing in a streaming way. But his point was very right, and AWS वालों का point बोले, उसने बोला कि streaming चाहिए क्यों आपको? Because streaming का cost बहुत high होता है. Streaming का मतलब ये कि 24/7 आपको आपके servers चलाते रहने हैं on which you will be running these components. I hope we are all on the same page. Make sense ना? Streaming मतलब चलते ही रहना चाहिए ना. एक डेटा आया, चलो टप टप टप, फिर यहाँ पे डेटा आया, वो चलते ही रहना चाहिए 24/7. बोला आपका cost ज्यादा आएगा. बोला cost आएगा चलेगा, लेकिन streaming, वो बोला क्यों चाहिए streaming? स्ट्रीमिंग कब होगा? When you have Zomato टाइप का, जैसा मैंने आपको बोला, Zomato का जैसा मैंने आपको बोला, उनका बिग डेटा का प्लेटफॉर्म में कोई डैशबोर्ड पे जाके KPIs नहीं देख रहा है एंड टेकिंग अ डिसीजन. ट्राई एंड अंडरस्टैंड. अपने केस में कोई KPI जाता है, देखता है, वो जरूरी नहीं है हर 1 सेकंड में रिफ्रेश करेगा ना. वो आधा घंटे बाद आएगा, कोई 2 घंटे बाद आएगा, कोई पूरा दिन नहीं आएगा, दूसरे दिन जाएगा, कोई 10 दिन तक के नहीं आएगा इसके ऊपर, और कोई आएगा तो हर आधा घंटे में आएगा और देखेगा. सो ऐसा नहीं है कि यू हैव गॉट टू गिव इनपुट्स द मोमेंट एन इवेंट हैपेंस एंड समवन मस्ट बी नोटिफाइड. तो स्ट्रीमिंग चाहिए. आई रिपीट, व्हेन एन इवेंट हैपेंस, something, some notification must happen or some ad campaign must run. तो आपने देखा होगा Zomato के ऊपर, the moment you select something and you put it in your basket and then you don't actually make the payment, आपको 2 मिनट के अंदर आ जाएगा, what's wrong, or why don't you, or do you want to try the other dishes, this that, वो आ जाएगा. वो रियल टाइम है, वो रियल टाइम है. सो यहाँ पे रियल टाइम का अपने पास यूज केस नहीं है. Unless the business comes back to us saying कि हमको रियल टाइम का यूज केस है, तब हम लोग बोलेंगे फिर ये कॉस्ट आएगा. So then business will be ready to bear the cost because they have a use case for it, and then it will make sense. Hope we are all on the same page.
Yep.
है ना? Charu, that answers your question, Charu?
Yes, Shakir, thank you.
Right, you're welcome. So streaming नहीं है, हमारा batch processing ही होगा. अच्छा, तो अभी हमने ये सब बात किया. The Spark, I'll come to the Spark also, but I would like to still bring to your notice, and I would like to share few more things with you all, my dear friends, that the architecture, it may get enhanced further. as we proceed, but as of now, this is set. How are we going to do this? This is again very interesting, and Charu, Snehal, it will help you all also. So see this, see the architecture, how it's going to work. We will have some components written over here, which will read the data from OTM, which is already written. I repeat, which is already written. It's there in place. So there is no additional effort here. ये हमारा already in place है. तो अब OTM से data आएगा, तो let me put it over here. We are calling this जो client applicant है ना, I said it is already written, and the name of that component is FR data sync. What is the name of the component that is already implemented, and it is actually in production for other purposes, but then this is what it is. So अभी तुफैल you're there, तुफैल सब लोग जाग रहे हैं ना?
Yes.
Yes.
क्लासरूम बेस्ड ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्रामर, द ट्रेनर सीज द फेसेस, यू नो, उसको पता है, दिख रहा है कौन कितना है क्या. ये ऑनलाइन में बस यही एक ड्रॉबैक है. मेरे तो आप लोगों को मैं दिख रहा हूँ, लेकिन मेरे को सब लोग दिख नहीं रहे, तो कौन सो रहा है कौन नहीं सो रहा पता नहीं, तो सोने दूंगा भी नहीं, डोंट वरी. Okay, cool. All praises be to God the Almighty. Things are going great, and I am blessed to have such a wonderful team. Really, I'm blessed. Really, I'm blessed. Me, my family, we are all blessed. Okay, coming back here. So how it is? This is how it is. So FR data sync is the component that is going to, इसको भी जरा सा ना इसको 125 कर देता हूं. Okay. FR data sync takes the data from OTM. So let me put it like this. OTM से data, FR data sync will talk. See, OTM does not know anything about all this. We talk to OTM. OTM doesn't talk to us. So FR data sync से OTM से data किधर आएगा? FR data sync. Actually, FR data sync will invoke APIs on OTM and get the data. वहां से data कहां जाएगा? It will go to AWS का API gateway. Why this is there in picture? Because कल को अपने पास कोई कस्टमर आता है, बोलता है हमारे पास डेटा एनालिटिक्स के लिए रेडी है, हमारे पास जो हमारे ट्रांजैक्शंस है वो हमारे पास रेडी है, आप बताओ हमारे पास, आपके पास कोई एपीआई है थ्रू विच वी कैन पुश आवर डेटा? विल से यस, हमारे पास एपीआई है, सो हमारी एपीआईज आर रेडी, राइट. तो अपने को वो एफर्ट वापस से नहीं डालना पड़ेगा. सो वी आर बिल्डिंग द आर्किटेक्चर इन सच अ वे दैट इट कवर्स मैक्सिमम नंबर ऑफ सिनेरियोज एंड वी आर एबल टू सेल दिस एज अ प्लेटफॉर्म. सो एपीआई गेटवे के थ्रू जाएगा. API गेटवे से डेटा आना शुरू हो जाएगा. कैसे आना शुरू होगा? API गेटवे से वी आर गोइंग टू राइट लैम्डा functions. Again, this is AWS service, which will get the data from this API gateway. Lambda functions gets executed, which will in turn put the data in S3 bucket. I repeat, it will put the data where? In S3 bucket. This S3 data that we are putting in bucket, we are calling it bronze bucket. Just the logical name. I repeat, just the logical name. Why bronze? ये raw data आएगा. Raw. Almost वैसा ही जैसा यहाँ पे OTM में है वैसा आएगा. अब इसको प्रोसेस करना है, तो इसको अपने ट्रांसफॉर्मर्स यूज करेंगे. तो I will have transformers now. Okay, we call it bronze transformer. That means it will pick up data from bronze S3 bucket. What is S3 bucket? It's nothing but a file system. Charu, Snehal, Musharraf, Tawfiq, Uwais. S3 is just the file system. ये AWS के ऊपर file system है जहाँ files बनती है, खलास. That's the point. So bronze transformer अपना जो हम ये कोड ये किसमें लिखेंगे? चलो बता. Bronze transformer किसमें लिखा जाएगा? कौन सा framework? Deploy किधर होगा? EMR पे deploy होगा. EMR is Elastic Map Reduce Infrastructure that is given by AWS. तो ये हमारे ट्रांसफॉर्मर्स हो गए. ये ट्रांसफॉर्म करके किधर डालेगा? ये वापस से S3 बकेट में डालेगा, बट ये डेटा कौन सा होगा? क्लेंस्ड डेटा होगा, क्लीन डेटा होगा, ट्रांसफॉर्म डेटा होगा, वैलिडेटेड डेटा होगा. कोई पर्टिकुलर बुकिंग ऐसी आई है जिसके अंदर इन्वॉल्व पार्टीज है ही नहीं, करप्ट है वो बुकिंग, हम उसको लेंगे ही नहीं हमारे सिस्टम के अंदर. सो S3 बकेट, लेकिन ये सिल्वर बोलते हैं इसको, सिल्वर बकेट में जाएगा, राइट. और फिर सिल्वर बकेट से वापस से ट्रांसफॉर्मर्स होगा. सिल्वर ट्रांसफॉर्मर वी आर कॉलिंग इट, which will take the data from here and it will put it in gold and MongoDB and it will put it in Redshift based on the requirements of all of these three. And जो gold bucket is actually again the bucket. मैं इसको जरा ब्रेक कर देता हूँ, ये पूरा एक लाइन में ये हो गया. हाँ, सो ये पूरा आर्किटेक्चर, ये ऐसा पूरा फ्लो है, राइट. तो ये S3 बकेट में जाएगा, फिर वहां पे और ट्रांसफॉर्म होगा और क्लेंस होगा. ये जो फाइनल क्लेंजिंग होगा ना, ये डेटा जाएगा रेडशिफ्ट में, विच विल सर्व एज इनपुट टू व्हाट, द विजुअलाइजेशन टूल. तो हमारा एफर्ट क्या क्या है, ये तो ऑलरेडी हमने लिख चुका है, ये है. अभी हमारा एफर्ट ये एपीआई गेटवे, ये बहुत बड़ा एफर्ट नहीं होता है. एपीआई गेटवे में आपको एपीआई बनानी होती है, ये कोडिंग ज्यादा नहीं होता, कॉन्फ़िगरेशन होता है. यहाँ पे कोडिंग है, राइट. इसके अंदर भी, ये कोडिंग के अंदर भी ना फ्रेमवर्क बेस्ड है. मतलब ये कि हमने ऐसा कोड लिखना है यहाँ पर जो कॉमन कोड हो, ज्यादा इसमें फर्क नहीं आएगा. लेकिन ये काम जो है ना, ये वाला काम, ये ब्रॉन्ज ट्रांसफॉर्मर, ये मेजर बल्क ऑफ द वर्क इज हियर. Silver transformer, major bulk of the work is over here, and both all of these transformers are written in what? They are written in Spark. They are written in Spark. That's all it is. अभी कोई एक नया कस्टमर आता है. Transform is one customer on this platform. Let's call it one tenant. Transworld is one tenant on the platform. This big data का platform का एक tenant है. जैसी नया tenant आता है ना, you will have to again write what? Lambda, which will not be a big effort, but you will have to write code for bronze transformer and silver. Why? Because जो data ingest हो रहा है OTM से, अगर दूसरा कस्टमर SAP पे है तो उसका डेटा का स्ट्रक्चर अलग होगा, तो ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन चेंज हो जाएगा. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर OTM calls it booking XID, booking GID, राइट, और हमारे रेडशिफ्ट के अंदर हमने एक स्टैंडर्ड डेटा स्ट्रक्चर में रखा है बुकिंग आईडी, तो हम लोग यहाँ पे ट्रांसफॉर्म करते हैं बुकिंग GID इज ट्रांसफॉर्म्ड इनटू बुकिंग आईडी. हो सकता है SAP के अंदर व्हेन द बुकिंग कम्स फ्रॉम SAP, इट्स नोन एज बुकिंग अंडरस्कोर नंबर, सो वी विल हैव टू ट्रांसफॉर्म बुकिंग अंडरस्कोर नंबर इनटू बुकिंग आईडी. तो ये ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन का लॉजिक. क्या हम लोग एग्जिस्टिंग चेंज करेंगे? नहीं, नया लिखेंगे. हर एक कस्टमर के लिए नया, हर एक कस्टमर का S3 बकेट अलग होगा. हर एक कस्टमर, sorry, when I won't use the word customer, I'll say tenant. Tenant is the one who is going to purchase the subscription on our platform. I repeat, tenant is the one who's going to purchase the subscription on our tenant, अभी मैं on our platform. और अभी मैं ये भी बताता चलूं, two types of subscriptions will be there. One is the subscription which will be for analytics, quarterly, half yearly, yearly, 3 years का subscription for analytics. और एक subscription ऐसा होगा which will not be subscription, but the credits that they will buy for tracking. They'll say, I'll give you $100. अभी 100 होगा, 200 होगा, that Prabhakar decides. They'll say, हमको 100 BL track करना है. Prabhakar says, I will sell you in, one tracking for $2. So $200 उससे ले लिया, वो 100 BLs को ट्रैक कर सकेगा. उसने $1000 दे दिया, he will be able to track 500 BLs. ट्रैकिंग. सो एक तो ट्रैकिंग का पैसा देगा वो, दूसरा एनालिटिक्स का देगा. It is possible that the customer, the tenant that is onboarded onto our platform, that tenant may buy only tracking ka credits, doesn't need analytics. And the another tenant says, I want analytics, I don't need tracking. And someone says, hey, that's fantastic, I want both, I want tracking as well as analytics. So they pay for tracking and they pay for analytics too, right? That's how. But analytics is subscription time wise, quarterly, half yearly, monthly. मंथली तो एनालिटिक्स कोई क्यों मंथली लेके क्या करेगा, वो तो ज्यादा टाइम के लिए लेगा. तो मे बी क्वार्टरली, इफ यू जस्ट वांट टू ट्राई आउट, अगर उसको अच्छा लगा तो वो तो जरूर 3 साल के लिए ले लेगा, राइट. एंड फॉर 3 years प्रभाकर में ऑफर हिम अ बेटर प्राइस. सो सब्सक्रिप्शन है एनालिटिक्स, पूरा दिन आप देखते रहो एनालिटिक्स. और ये एनालिटिक्स में सीसी, आज जो जोमेटो है, आज जो व्हाट्सएप है, आज जो मैं बार बार जोमेटो लाता हूँ, सबका नाश्ता वाश्ता हो गया है ना. आज जो स्विगी है, आज जो फेसबुक है, was it the same 5 years back? Come on friends, was it the same 5 years back or it has enhanced? 50 नए फीचर्स, 1000 नए फीचर्स. सिमिलर इज द केस विद आवर प्लेटफॉर्म. आज हम स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं, आज हम बेचना स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं, 5 years डाउन द लाइन देखना इसके अंदर 1000 फीचर्स होंगे. ऐसे भी फीचर्स होंगे कि व्हेन अ पर्टिकुलर शिपमेंट इज गेटिंग डिलेड, द स्टेक होल्डर विल गेट एन SMS और मे बी अ व्हाट्सएप मैसेज कि आपका शिपमेंट डिलेड है बाय सो एंड सो टाइम. वो भी आने वाला है, वो भी होगा. So अभी आज आर्किटेक्चर ऐसे बनाना है that we must go to support. So coming back to the point here, tenant is the one who will be buying subscription for the the analytics and also will be purchasing credits in order to get the tracking done. They will be doing tracking as well, right? I hope we are all on the same page so far. Any doubts, any questions? Let me take a break here. I'll take a pause.
I do have questions on
Yeah.
these three.
Yeah.
I mean, what exactly we do. Sorry, you already might have covered it,
No.
but I'm very new to these terms. The data sync, API gateway, and Lambda function. So, what code, like till this here, we are not pulling data. So, what coding?
यहाँ से
Oh,
हम लोग
we are.
डेटा पुल कर रहे हैं. FR डेटा से डेटा पुल होता है OTM से
Okay.
या
Okay.
फिर Oracle Fusion से आपका.
Okay.
वो डेटा फिर डालते हैं हम लोग, एक API कॉल करते हैं, AWS की API कॉल करते हैं, वहां डालते हैं, AWS API पे डालते हैं.
Okay.
वहां से ऑटोमेटिकली लैम्डा फंक्शन एग्जीक्यूट होता है. इट्स अ गुड क्वेश्चन. ये देखो ना, आपने को सबको टीम को वैसे भी पता होना ही चाहिए, हम लोग को वही तो है. सो आई जस्ट गो टू माय AWS अकाउंट, अपना ट्रांसफॉर्म का. आई गो हियर. तो ये देखो, see this is the Java application that is written. Charu, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Right, this is the Java application that is written, which makes, you know, ये पूरा कोड लिखा हुआ है, ये आप देख रहे हो पूरा, thousands of lines of code already written. This code is written in order to invoke APIs on booking API and then this API and shipment instructions. बहुत सारी APIs हम लोग OTM का call करते हैं. We get the data, we process that data and we send it to the API. Which API? I'll show you. Okay, so see this. We have API over here, API gateway. ये AWS का service है. I am on AWS.
Okay.
Right? Like for example, can you see this booking engine?
Hmm.
ये एक सर्विस है. अभी ये देखो पोस्ट है यहाँ पे. Can you see this? So this is the API where I go to stages, it will give me the URL. तो ये देखो ये URL दिख रहा है.
Yes.
ये URL हम लोग कॉल करते हैं from this application. And we
Data
pass
sync.
on the data. So this application talks to OTM,
Okay.
gets the data, invokes this API, right? And in the post, in the body of the request, we send the bookings. And this API over here, what it does is that it invokes this particular Lambda function. Can you see this Lambda function here?
Right.
Right? This is that Lambda function that gets executed. When I click over here, this is the code that we have written and we have put it in Lambda. Can you see this code out here? ये देख रहे हो आप code देख रहे हो? This is the code.
Yeah. Right.
This is written in Python.
Okay.
This is written in Python. अभी ये जो code हमने लिखा है, this is just a drop in a notion. इसको पूरा framework based करेंगे हम लोग.
Okay.
This will be framework based. मतलब इसको इतना enhance करेंगे हम लोग that there must be minimal amount of change that we will have to do to this when a new tenant is onboarded.
Okay.
So as you can see, this actually ends up putting the data in S3. Can you see this here? Snehal, आप देख रहे हो ना? Snehal, you're there? है ना? देखो.
Shakir, this is similar to the OIC which we have, ना? Like Oracle वाला product or AWS का.
तो ये डेटा हम लोग OTM से रीड करके हम S3 buckets में डालते हैं. राइट? अब मैं आपको S3 bucket दिखाता हूँ. फाइल. तो देखो S3 में जाके ये रहा S3. अच्छा, ये S3 है और यहां पर ये सी दिस. गो टू मुंबई. अच्छा ये ठीक है. GDP डेटा ये रहा. ये देखो, कैन यू सी these are the folders. यहाँ आप bookings देख रहे हो, ये bookings के अंदर order release का folder के अंदर ये देखो, ये सब bookings है. These are all JSON files. This contains exactly the data that we have from OTM.
Okay, so each separate booking will have, each booking will have a separate JSON written here.
Good question. No, I am clubbing at least 50 bookings in one file. Otherwise, the performance will be bad.
Okay. Okay, understood.
Right? And I cannot also keep thousands of bookings in one file. So that will help me in big data. वहां पे performance थोड़ा अच्छा हो जाएगा, लेकिन फिर मेरा API से जो data आता है वहां पे performance खराब हो जाएगा, bandwidth बहुत खराब हो जाएगा.
Okay, understood.
Right? So there are अभी 20 रखा है मैंने, अभी तो अपना सब चल ही रहा है. Finally it is configured, so हम लोग उसको 50 कर सकते हैं, 100 कर सकते हैं. 100 is also, I think it's okay. So अभी अगर देखो, मैं ये फाइल को मैं डाउनलोड करके बताता हूँ आपको. ये देखो, okay, the file is downloaded onto my local machine. Can you see this here? This is the file. See here, downloads folder, open with, and I'll open with text edit. See this? ये वो पूरा JSON है, आप देख रहे हो? This contains bookings. अब इसके अंदर 20 bookings होगा. Correct? And then see this. We write transformers. आप देख रहे हो? Which reads that S3 का bucket से read करके हम लोग डेटा को ट्रांसलेट, जो भी कोड आप देख रहे हो, एक कॉलम का मैं ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन कर रहा हूं. ये देखो. For example, this is the transformation logic for transport document. This is the transformation logic written for, यही तो इसका अभी ट्रेनिंग स्टार्ट करेंगे हम लोग. Actual arrival date. This is the transformation logic for arrival date. देख रहे हो कितना काम है, कितना मजेदार है ना, और बहुत मजा आता है लिखने में. Actual departure का ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन ये है, राइट? डिपार्चर डेट का ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन ये है, ट्रांसशिपमेंट ETA का. और सबसे मजेदार तो ये था, ठीक, आप लोग के लिए छोड़ा हुआ मैंने, डोंट वरी, बहुत सारा, वो भी कॉम्प्लेक्स है.
Sure.
ये देखो, हाँ, ट्रांसपोर्ट डॉक्यूमेंट का ही काफी ये था. ये यहाँ से शुरू होता है, ट्रांसपोर्ट डॉक्यूमेंट का इधर से शुरू होता है. अगर FCL है तो ये लॉजिक, अगर LCL की बुकिंग है तो ये लॉजिक है, अगर एयर का बुकिंग है तो ये लॉजिक है, अगर सर्विस जॉब कस्टम क्लियरेंस है तो ये लॉजिक है, ट्रांसपोर्ट है तो ये, अगर ये तीनों में से कोई एक है तो ये वाला लॉजिक है, ये रहा. और अगर उनमें से कुछ ही नहीं है तो नॉट एप्लीकेबल डाल दिया अभी मैंने, या तो नल डाल देंगे, ऐसे है. सो दिस इज द ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन लॉजिक दैट आई वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट, जो हमको लिखना है. अभी आई होप वी आर ऑल, और अभी इतना डिस्कशन के बाद सबको इतना तो समझ में आ गया है ना कि दिस ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन लॉजिक विल बी डिफरेंट बेस्ड ऑन डेटा कहां से आ रहा है. कम ऑन, यस और नो?
Yes.
फील्ड्स का नाम अलग होगा ना, जो JSON से जो डेटा आ रहा है OTM से, वही डेटा SAP से नहीं आएगा, वही डेटा ब्लू यॉन्डर से नहीं आएगा. अब अगर समझो प्रभाकर ब्रिंग्स अनदर कस्टमर, सॉरी, if Prabhakar brings another tenant for the platform, हो सकता है that tenant is also an OTM. तो फिर अपना काम,
it will be easy, yeah.
Very easy. फिर हमारे को 1 महीना 1.5 महीना नहीं लगेगा to onboard that tenant for analytics. It will take maybe 10 days, 15 days max with testing and stuff. Because OTM तो अपना set है ना, OTM का. Let me put it like this: OTM का transformers are already written if the next tenant is also an OTM. Correct?
It will not be exactly the same, but we have to do certain changes. For example, if you see many of the fields which are configured, right? So those are, most of them are from the reference fields. And OTM, if you see, OTM is mostly configurable in nature, right? So you will have attribute columns and you will have reference fields, right? So it is not the way how Birlasoft has configured the OTM. For transfer, it will not be the same way how they will do it for some other companies.
Super,
so there will be
because we have too many customizations, so it will depend based on the different.
Brilliant point. Very correct. I was wrong. I take back my words.
Yeah.
Time lag sakta hai depending on the customization that is.
Yes.
So for Charu to understand, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, based on the configuration, how it is configured for the new tenant, it depends on that.
True. Superb. Excellent. So in order to summarize for Charu, there is something like booking XID, booking GID, which will remain the same across all the tenants who are running on OTM. But apart from that, there are hundreds of fields which are custom fields, and they are named as attribute 7, attribute 18, attribute 19. And what attribute 18 means in OTM for transferred can be different as compared to what it would mean somewhere else.
Okay.
And it is possible वहाँ attribute 18 नहीं, उनका 5 ही attribute का customize किया होगा, या उन्होंने 100 किया होगा, तो you just don't know in which attribute what is the value. This story.
Yes.
Okay.
So that change will come, and for that, so yes, so to summarize, the time that would be taken in order to onboard another tenant who is also working on OTM is proportional to the amount of customization or the quantum of customization that they have done in OTM.
Okay.
Right? That's how it is. That's how it is. But it's fun. अच्छा है ना customization करना है तो चारू हमारा दुकान चलेगा, चलने तो चारू.
Shakir, if I understood correctly, so basically from OTM first, like I'm trying to relate what we are currently doing.
Sure.
So we are trying to figure out what all columns we need right now from OTM or Fusion.
Yes.
So once we'll figure out what columns we need from these two applications, then this data sync API gateway Lambda function, this will come into picture. This will only play around with what all columns we need, and these S3 bucket, bronze, silver, gold, here we will refine that data.
Yes.
Okay.
Super.
Okay.
Finally, after all the refinement is done, that complex logic is written, it goes into Redshift, which is cleaned, and the data in the format which is easier for you to just drag and drop on Apache Superset and create KPIs.
Understood. Perfect. Yeah.
Right? A second.
Okay.
So this is what it is. So now what you're going to learn is that, and now what you're going to get started is that we're going to start, but I think it's 11:52. We should take a break. 10 minutes ka break is okay. Can we resume back at 12:05, 12:05, 10-15 minutes?
Yep. Sure.
Lunch break कितना बजे चाहिए? 1:30 is okay. 1:30 lunch break.
Yes, sir. It's okay.
Huh? Yes, sorry, I missed. Someone said something.
Yeah, 1:30 is fine.
1:30 is fine, na? है ना? तो हम लोग अभी एक 10-15 मिनट का, so let's resume back at 12:05 and then 1.5 hour and then 1:30 we will again take a break. ठीक है?
Yep.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. So this meeting is on. I'm stopping the recording. The meeting is going to be on. I'm not dropping this. You're supposed to come back on the same meeting. I'm just putting the video and the audio off.
Sure.
Okay. Okay. Zoom record. Okay. Perfect. So see, at the high level, we have understood the architecture and how things are going to flow. And I'm sure by now you might have understood, basis whatever I've already demonstrated to you, the bulk of the work, not that FR data saying this is something that we've already written, hence we're going to use it, reuse it rather, I would say. That's fine. These APIs, creating these APIs is effort-oriented task, and then creating the Lambda functions is an effort-oriented task. But the bulk of the effort, I am sure you'll have understood, is about transformation. Major work is over here. Maximum amount of time will be spent here in writing the transformation. Tomorrow, if there is any change, so Charu, you recollect, you're there, right, Charu?
Sorry. Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. Okay. So you remember, Charu, we were talking about just a couple of days back, when we had a call with Jayendra and others, when we were talking about how to get the data and what's the data that we are supposed to bring. So that's exactly what the point is. If at all we have missed anything and tomorrow the maintenance comes up, they say, okay, these are the additional things. So even if we do not miss anything, we bring everything. It's quite, that's how it is supposed to be. This is how the businesses are. They will definitely come up with some additional things in future. And then where is the work that we will have to do? This is where we're going to have to do the work. Maybe we will have to make some changes into the FR data sync so that we get the new data, push it through AWS API gateway, create a Lambda function, or maybe the existing Lambda function can still push it into S3 bronze, but write a new transfer. or maybe make a change in the existing transformer with the new column transformation logic of the new column, and so on. So end to end in the data pipeline, there will be changes in various different places along with the testing and stuff. So there can be a change in that, right? So that's exactly is the important point. So once again, I'm reiterating the point that I'm sure every one of you have understood that it is the major thing here is of transformation, and that's what we're going to get started with. So I believe most of you have got community edition of IntelliJ and not the ultimate edition. In any case, I would like to proceed further with the community edition so that we are all in sync. Because if I show you things in the ultimate edition, and if you do not find the same option there, then you will be in a fix. So I hope you'll have all installed this. In fact, all my team members, I'm sure they already have it, in fact, and we're going to use this community edition now. So I will close this project that I have already opened up over here. Okay, so this is how, when you get started with the community edition or even the ultimate edition, more or less. So this is how it is. You get the list of all the projects that are already there. And now you see you have an option of enabling the new user interface, the new UI. This new UI is really terrific. It's beautiful. The new UI they have come up with an IntelliJ. I would like to enable this. I'll restart this. It looks really beautiful. Okay, so this is the new UI. I'll just close this. I don't want a tool. And it looks much more beautiful. So what I'm going to do here is that to start with, I'm going to create a new project. Okay, and when I say new project, it asks me what is the kind of new project you want to create. So by default, it says, you want to create a Java project or you want to create a Kotlin, Groovy, all of these are the different languages based on which you can very well go ahead and, you can create a project here. So I'll keep the folder as an idea projects. This tilde stands for user folder. So within the user folder, I've got idea projects, or else better, I will say, I'll select other trainings. I'll say new, and under trainings, I'll say in-house training, and then I'll say open. And here I'll say Spark-training. So you all can do this later. I don't, or I'll tell you all when you are supposed to do the hands-on. Okay, so don't worry about that. So see what I'm doing here is that I am saying plus out here, and I'll say Scala. So I'll install the plugin for Scala, right? So there will be a plugin installed. So there is a plugin available for Python. There is a plugin available for Scala to write Scala programs. So the IDE, the integrated development environment, makes it easier for me to write Scala-based applications when I install this plugin. So I'll say install. I'll say install out here. It's really very fast. Okay, and it says once you've installed it, say restart the IDE. Okay, no problem. I will restart the IDE. Okay, when I do this, I'll say new project. And then once again, I'll have to do that. I'll say, I want to create it in a proper, I'll say trainings, and in-house the folder is already created. I'll say open, and I'll say Spark-training. So you see this, it will be created here exactly in my user folder. Trainings is the folder within the user folder, in-house /Spark training. Right, this is how it is. And which language will I select? I'll say Scala. When I say Scala, the Scala project needs to be built. It must be built. It is supposed to be built, right? Eventually, in order to run it. So it says, what is it that you want to use for as a build system? You want to use SBT, that is the Scala build system, or you want to use IntelliJ? I'll say SBT, Scala build system. Which is the version of Java you want to use here? I will use Java 1.8. I repeat, I'm going to use Java 1.8. Okay, 11 is also fine, but I'll use 1.8. Don't use 17, don't use 19 because the Scala stuff and all Spark and all it clashes. Okay, so I'm going to use, here it is, I've got Java 1.8 already installed on my machine, on Mac. Those who are using M2 Mac, those who are using M1 Mac, those who are using Apple Silicon M1 or M2, please make sure that you download the Java, especially for your M2, M1 Mac, which is for Apple Silicon, chip and not the Intel chip. Okay, fine. So here it is. It takes the SBT 1.8.2 version. I'll keep it as it is. And Scala is 2.13.10 version. I can very well change the version of this. Now, for those who have been already, my team members, I'm sure you're all working on this. So Charu, it's okay if you don't do the hands-on. Snehal, I would recommend you do the hands-on, but even if you do not do, it's absolutely fine, Snehal, Snehal, even you will not be writing the code, but you must know what we are doing. So it's good for your knowledge. So still do the hands-on, absolutely no problem. But my team members must do the hands-on, no choice. If I give you a task tomorrow, not if, I will give you a task tomorrow, you must be able to do it.
Yes.
And मैं recording share नहीं करूँगा. I will share the recording only with Snehal, with Charu, for people who will be joining us next, but not with you guys. तो Scala. So, जैसे Maven based project में pom.xml फाइल होता है, वैसा यहाँ पे build फाइल होता है called SBT. SBT का build फाइल होता है. Okay, so उसमें जाके हम लोग ये change कर सकते हैं. So I'll keep everything as it is. It says, do you want to add sample code? I'll say no, and I'll say create. Now the moment I do this create, you see this. ये नया UI है, मैं इसको minimize करता हूँ. और ये रहा अपना ये build फाइल है. देखो build.sbt. आप देख रहे हो ये रहा build.sbt फाइल. Can you see this? Build.sbt here. Right, so ये configuration है. This is the configuration. This is the version of Scala that we are using. Now, what I'm going to do here is that I already have a project in place. Okay. ये रहा. In my Ultimate Edition, I already have project. And in order to make sure that things do not go haywire, what I'm going to do here is that I will make sure that the SBT that I'm using over here and the version that I'm using over here is exactly the same. So I'll go to build.sbt over here, and the version, Scala version is 2.12.15. Right? So I will make 2.12.15, same Scala version. 2.12.15 is the version that I'm going to use, right? Anytime when you make a change in build.sbt, do not forget to click over here. So you can see this SBT over here and say refresh. You are supposed to do that. Otherwise, the changes will not come into effect. If you are unable to see this icon over here, then you can click on view. You can see tool windows, and here you have got an option of SBT. Here it is SBT. When you select this, SBT will come up over here, and then you can always say refresh. Okay, so now 2.12.15 is the version that is going to be used, because that's what we're using here, Scala version. Okay, and you can also give Scala version like this instead of making it this build here like this. This is also the way to do it. Okay, again, I'll just simply say refresh. Now, so Scala is a programming language now. I will be able to write any kind of Scala code. Say, for example, if I say src, if I say main, within main, you can see the Scala project here. This is as same as if you are writing a Java program. Within main, you will have Java.
Yes.
यहाँ पे instead of Java, you put Scala. Simple, pappu. Acha. Then I'll create a new one. So, every one of you all are expert in using the IDE. Or else not, figure it out. I'm not going to explain that here. You can always click right mouse button, new one, you can get the options. I'm using the shortcut keys. I'll say N, and I'll select Scala class, not a Java class. I'll say Scala. I hit the enter key and it gives me the options the way what kind of class I want to create. I'll say object. आप ChatGPT को पूछो, वो आपको टप ये सब क्या different options है, वो बता देगा क्या है क्या. Okay. Hello.
Yes.
Huh? So object. So I'll create an object kind of a class. Again, I'm not getting into the details of Scala stuff and all. I'll just create it as an object, and I'll say getting started. Okay. Getting started with Scala. Okay. Abhi bhi main Spark nahi start kar raha hu, main Scala. Okay. Now, see, where have I created it directly in Scala? Never do this. Never ever do this. Always create all your classes in some of the other package. I repeat, always create it in some of the other package. So I'll say within Scala, I'll say package, and I'll give the name of the package as com.im. I'll say training.spark. This is the package I'm creating. Within this package, now I will create a Scala class. I'll say object, and I'll say getting started with Scala. Okay, this is the object kind of a class. Okay, I'll say shift F6 to rename it because the spelling is wrong. Started. This is better. All right. And I will create a main function. This is how you create it. See, in case of Java, you're at public static void main. Here, in this case, it is defining a function. Define, right? DEF stands for define. Main function, again, the same thing. It's an argument that you're taking of array string. That's the command line argument, and unit represents the value that you will be returning back from this function. Okay, here you go. So here you are. This is what we have here now. Unit is like, you're not returning back anything actually. It's a void. It's a void. So here you are, and then I'm simply I'm going to give print ln, hello world. Okay, I click here, and then I see. Can you see this option run? I just run the Scala program, and it runs. Okay, so first time it compiled, assembled, and everything. So that's okay. You see, it is showing the target folder over here. I can always click here, options, pre-experience. I'll say show excluded files. So it will not show me the file that I'm not concerned with. See, it is still building and stuff and all. The very first time it takes a bit of a time. Okay, started. You see, hello world. Now, if I make any changes over here, okay, and then again, if I click here, I say run, and then it compiles immediately. And see, this time it did not take time. It was fast. Hello world. I get the value here. Right, that's how it is. So this is how it is. I want all of y'all, except for Charu and for Snehal, it is optional. All of y'all create this project. Confirm to me that you'll have written hello world fast. Come on, time nahi apne paas. Jaldi. Confirm karo. Don't worry, I will not make y'all write a lot of code, but at least the skeleton must be ready so that when I start sharing code with y'all, you must be able to run it on your machines. Chalo. I am monitoring my chat window. In the chat window, you're supposed to confirm that you're done. Just type DONE done and I will know. See in the SBT file, what have I done? It's 2.12.15 is the version. Yeah. So Scala is the programming language which we have, we have created a project which is a Scala project. We have not yet configured the Spark framework. How will my Scala program use that framework? Always remember, Java is the programming language, Spring Boot is the framework. JavaScript is the programming language, or maybe TypeScript if you want to be more precise. TypeScript is the programming language, Angular is the framework. JavaScript is the programming language, React.js is the framework. Correct? Python is the programming language, Flask, Django are the frameworks. Likewise, Scala is the programming language, Spark is the framework. So this is the programming language, but we need to. Okay, sure, no problems. So we will have to now configure the framework. If it was a Java program and if it was a Maven-based Java program, we go to pom.xml file and add dependencies, not my words, dependencies. Here I'll go to build.sbt file and add dependencies. Got it? So I'm going to go over here to my original application. Okay, and I'll go to my build.sbt over here, which is already open. And here I am going to now copy paste this entire thing. Okay, I'm going to copy paste this entire thing and set up the dependency. So what I'm going to do, don't worry, I'm not going to make you all type all this. I have a better way. But let me copy this entire thing out here after the Scala version. I'll copy this. I'll go back over here. I will. Okay, and I will paste it over here. Now, the moment I paste it over here, do you think it's going to get me? No, it's not going to get me. See, even if I go here and if I try to create something like Val, Spark, I'm not getting anything. Spark session or S, is equal to, I'll say Spark. नहीं मिल रहा है कुछ भी मुझे देखो Spark related कुछ नहीं आ रहा है. Why? Because I did not go to SBT here and I did not refresh. Only when I refresh, it will start bringing in the dependencies. Correct? Now, how do we share this code? As I said, I wanted you to create the skeleton of the project, but I don't want to spend time, you all writing all of these things. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new repository and I'm going to keep it public. You don't even have to log in or anything. I'll share the URL with you. Just click on that URL and you will be able to get the repository. And from the repository, you will be able to get the code. You don't need to check out the code. You don't need to pull the repository. I repeat, you don't need to pull the repository. As and when I keep on sharing the code, then the browser itself, you will go to a particular file, copy it from there and paste it in your project. Okay, that's what we're going to do. So wait, I'll show you how you're going to do it. Wait a minute. I'll go to my Safari, clear this. I'll go to Bitbucket. Okay, and I will go to repositories, I'll go to projects rather, and I'll say one logistics is the project. I'll create a new repository out here, create repository. I will not be able to create an, oh, I can. Okay. So I will create a new project here called trainings. Training, spelling is correct. And ignite. Repositories, projects. I'll create a new project and I'll call it training. Okay. And I will not make it a private project so that it becomes public and you can all use it without logging onto the system. I'll say create. Now I'll create a repository and I don't need to make it private now. Okay. So here it's going to be Spark. Spark training. And I'll say no, and I'll say master, and then I'll say create repository. Okay, and now I am going to CD trainings, in-house training, CD Spark training. I'll say git. अच्छा git ignore नहीं है इसके अंदर. Okay, cd dot cd. Just give me 2 minutes. Okay, so the code is here. Friends, the code is here. Now, what you're going to do is that I'll give you this URL. Okay, you just don't need to log in or anything. Just simply use this URL. I've given that URL here in the, let me give it to everyone. And here you go. Yes, I've given the URL in the chat window of your Zoom. Just click on that and it will open up this particular repository. Just need to go to build.sbt for now. Go to build.sbt and in the build.sbt, you will get my code. If you want, just simply use Control-A, copy, come back to your build.sbt, double click on it and paste it. That's it, done. Paste it. And then after pasting it, click here and then say refresh. Can you see this SBT option here? The icon, and then come on, do this. Let me know once done. I'm waiting. So this will help you to set up the dependencies. Very good. Excellent. Excellent. Very good. Okay, while this is going on, very good, Akim. Excellent, excellent, brilliant, brilliant. Akim's machine is faster than Tufail's machine, huh, now? Very good. Okay, okay. Tufail also done. Very nice. Okay, cool, good, good, excellent, excellent, excellent. That's brilliant. I'm so happy. Okay, so now what we're supposed to do is that we're supposed to write some code. Again, as I said, I'm not going to make you write the code first, but I will explain, and then you can also replicate exactly the same thing. You can copy paste from the browser. Now, each time I write the code, you're going to go to that browser, the same repository, and you can pick up the code from there and paste it over here. Again, I'll show you how to do that a bit later. But then what are we going to get started with? See, what I have done is that for me to have a systematic approach of learning and training as well, what I've done is that I have created the project structure over here. I'm sorry, the package structure out here in such a way that it helps me to understand what is supposed to be discussed first and the next and the next. So I'm not going to start with the delta out here. I'll talk about delta later. But then what I'm going to talk about here is that, yes, this is the first topic. This is the very first thing. So on ClickUp, I have put some. So see, this is what it is. Okay, this is what it is. Now let me give you an overview of Spark. Instead of me directly jumping onto writing the code, it's important that we understand the framework, what it is all about. So I'll go back to my drawing board and I'll say architectural. This is first thing. First is architectural overview. And now I'm going to create another page here. And here I'm going to say Spark overview. Okay. So what Spark does is that, बहुत interesting है, बहुत मजेदार, बहुत interesting. And I am very confident that all of y'all are quite motivated, quite excited about this technology, and you will love to learn this new technology and you will understand very easily. One of the biggest power of Spark is what? Not only that it has got the ability and a fantastic API to help us do the transformation. Yes, that is one big feature. I repeat, Spark has got a fantastic capability of providing the transformation related APIs. Okay, if I wanted a new column, I'll say dot with column. This is the new column that I need, and I can give when and this and that, and there are so many options that they have provided. That's there, no doubt about it. But even bigger than that, Spark provides you with the ability to scale. If today I am processing data worth GBs, tomorrow I can use the same program. I can use Spark as the platform, Spark as the framework to process the data which is in terabytes. And tomorrow, if required, if suppose our, God willing, our platform becomes such a big hit that we start processing data in petabytes, Spark will not fail us. Why? Because Spark always works in a cluster. Spark runs in a cluster. So there are cluster of nodes. Spark works with cluster of nodes, right? There are no limitations to the number of nodes. When I say node, these are compute instances. These are computing instances. These are EC2 instances, maybe on AWS, or maybe this is an Oracle compute instance, or it can be a GCP container, a GCP compute instance. A machine, I can have a physical, I can have 10 physical machines, and I can have a Spark program run on it in such a way that it works in a cluster of machines. When you say cluster, what do you mean by cluster? Again, friends, what do you mean by cluster? Cluster का क्या मतलब है? ये देखो, a group of similar things or people positioned or are occurring closely together. Cluster related, बहुत सारा cluster of shops and cluster of this, a cluster, a group of similar things or people positioned or occurring closely together. That's what a cluster is. So cluster of machines, they are also known as nodes. Each and every machine is known as a node. One node, this is another node, this is another, this is N1, this is N2, and then this is N3, and so on. I can have a number of machines. These machines, and there will be one machine. So maybe, there are 5 machines in the cluster, so I'll say N4, and then I say N5. There are 5 machines in the cluster, but then there will be one machine, one node at least, which will act as a driver node. मतलब ये कि प्रोग्राम उसका आपका Spark का प्रोग्राम स्टार्ट इधर होगा, and it will distribute the processing of your data across all of these nodes, and these nodes on which it distributes the processing are also known as worker nodes. So this is my driver node, whereas all of these are worker nodes. Sorry. These are all worker nodes, and this is the driver node. Or we can say this is a driver program, which actually starts your Spark program. And it can also be possible, it is also possible that this driver program, wherever this driver program is running, that also, I believe, Murali, correct me if I'm wrong, that can also run, some distributed code here itself. That means that machine also can participate as one of the worker nodes. I'm not so sure about it, but then I think it is possible. That's how it works, right? But then there will be some of the other machine from where the program will start, and it is the responsibility of that program on that machine that it starts to distribute the processing on all of this. So if you are processing 5 terabytes ka data, not that all the processing, and when I say processing, okay, let's consider something like this itself. Let's consider something like this. Okay, this is processing, right? This is the logic you're executing. This is the logic you're executing. So it's not necessary that this logic will be executed on, if there are, when I say petabytes of data or maybe terabytes of data, maybe let's talk about 1 million rows, 1 million records. So maybe this logic executes for, 10,000 records on one node. Another 10,000 records will be processed in parallel on another node. Yet another 10,000 records will be processed in parallel on the third node. Baat samajh mein aa rahi hai? So there is a high level of parallelism over here that is happening. So in parallel, when you've got the data set, huge amount of data that needs to be processed, there's not one single machine that will participate in processing of that data. There can be n number of machines that can participate in the processing of data. That is the biggest, one of the biggest right on the top, the biggest and the most critical feature of Spark, that it can span across multiple instances in a cluster. और आपको उसकी कोई फिक्र करने की जरूरत नहीं है, वो ऑटोमेटिकली स्टार्ट करेगा, वो ऑटोमेटिकली डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करेगा, वो ऑटोमेटिकली मैनेज करेगा. इफ एट ऑल वन नोड फेल्स, हो सकता है वो मशीन ऑफ हो जाए, कुछ हो जाए, कुछ हो जाए उसके साथ, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. इट विल स्टिल मैनेज द वर्क विद दीज नोड्स.
So Shakir, sorry to interrupt. These nodes will be static, or we have to predefine, or it will like increase based on the data load?
अरे क्या क्वेश्चन किया है, वाह. As far as I, Murali, can add to this, जब हम लोग EMR पे ये सेटअप करते हैं तो वहां पे वो पूछता है कि आपको कितने नोड्स चाहिए.
Yes.
तो हमको पहले बताना पड़ता है. तो मुरली, क्या ऐसा ऑप्शन है कि वो ऑटोमेटिकली, शायद EC2 स्पॉट इंस्टेंसेस में ऐसा कोई ऑप्शन है कि ऑटोमेटिकली जितना लोड बढ़ेगा वो ज्यादा लेते जाएगा?
Yeah, Shakir. So you can do this elasticity. So you can give the minimum number of nodes and the maximum number of nodes, right? And based on the load, it will increase your scalability, or it will reduce, scale up or scale down as per the need.
सुपर सुपर। तो इससे बड़ा फायदा कहाँ है बोलो? एक वन वर्ड आंसर चाहिए मेरे को। मुरली आप नहीं देना, स्नेहल आप ही बताओ, या तुफैल लतीफ बताओ। सबसे बड़ा ये जो इलास्टिसिटी, जितना ज्यादा डेटा होगा उतने ज्यादा नोड्स चलेंगे, नहीं है डेटा तो कम हो जाएंगे नोड्स। इससे फायदा क्या होगा? वन वर्ड आंसर।
Cost.
कॉस्ट का। तो ये नहीं है कि हमारे को पहले, ये इलास्टिसिटी इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। नहीं तो अगर हम पहले से बड़े बड़े सर्वर्स अगर हम लोग रिजर्व करके बैठ जाते हैं तो उसका तो हमारे को साल भर का पैसा देना पड़ेगा।
Optimization of our resources.
Optimization of resource, perfect. Optimization of resources, that is also one. These are the reasons why Spark, you will be able to cut down on the cost. अच्छा, जितना ज्यादा डेटा प्रोसेस हो रहा है उतना ज्यादा रेवेन्यू आ रहा है, हमारा प्लेटफॉर्म इतना यूज हो रहा है, तो रेवेन्यू आ रहा है तो हमारे को पैसा AWS को भी देने में प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। लेकिन अगर नहीं आ रहा है इतना डेटा तो फिर हम पहले दिन हम क्यों पैसा दें? So that's the benefit you get. I hope that answers your question, right?
Yes. Yes.
Good. So this is the big feature. So ये एक feature है. This is one of the most critical features that you have got. अच्छा, अभी another is जो डेटा प्रोसेस होता है ना, आप अपना प्रोग्राम लिखोगे और स्टार्ट करोगे तो जो डेटा प्रोसेस होता है, अभी तो हम लोग ये प्रोग्राम का AWS का EMR is Elastic Map Reduce. ओके, ये देखो अभी यहाँ पे मैं जाऊंगा EMR पे, ये है EMR, ये रहा EMR। यहाँ पे हम लोग पूरा क्लस्टर सेटअप कर देंगे। सीधे ऑप्शन ऑफ क्रिएटिंग अ क्लस्टर। अभी मैं इसको बनाऊंगा नहीं फाइनली, लेकिन ये देखो अपाचे स्पार्क, हडूप, HBase, प्रेस्टो, ट्रिनो, कस्टम, ये देखो राइट। तो यहाँ पे हम अपना क्लस्टर बनाएंगे। यहाँ पे देखो वो ऑप्शन देता है यूज फॉर स्पार्क टेबल मेटा डेटा वगैरह, ग्लू को यूज करना है कि नहीं हम सिलेक्ट कर सकते हैं, ब्ला 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 सब इंस्टेंस। देखो यहाँ पे मशीन सिलेक्ट करने देता है। तो प्राइमरी नोड कौन सा रहेगा, फिर बाद में आपका नोड का दूसरा जो नोड का जो कॉन्फ़िगरेशन, जो वर्कर नोड है उसका क्या कॉन्फ़िगरेशन रहेगा, और आपको कितने मशीन चाहिए, टास्क 1 देखो, ये सब टास्क 1 देखो, ये सब आप यहाँ पे कर सकते हो। यहाँ पे M फाइल आज कितना साइज वगैरह चाहिए, ये सब आप मशीन, आप पूरा क्लस्टर सेटअप कर सकते हो इन शॉर्ट ओवर, राइट। जैसे अभी EC2 इंस्टेंसेस वगैरह पे हम लोग मास्टर AWS में, इसके ऊपर भी इट विल बिकम लाइक नेक्स्ट टू, आज जैसा EC2 इंस्टेंसेस को कॉन्फ़िगर करना है नेक्स्ट टू ब्रीदिंग, ये भी हमारे लिए करना वुड बी नो कोई बिग डील नहीं है, नेक्स्ट टू ब्रीदिंग हो जाएगा, राइट। सो दिस इज हाउ इट इज, so this is how it is. So this is the cluster that, but now whatever we are learning and whatever practice work we will be doing, the POCs we'll be doing it on our local machine. अपने local machine पे वो automatically multiple threads बना के वो अपना worker nodes वगैरह बना के सब कर ले, right? That's what. Now the data that it works with, it has got a special component, a special API you may call it, which internally manages the processing of the data, and they call it, so you cannot write any Spark processing code unless you have created something called RDD. There is something called data frame also, I'll come to that later on. But what you need to create is RDD, resilient distributed data set. Resilient RDD, resilient distributed, see the name that they have given, distributed data set, ये data set, that's how it is, data set ये है। तो कोई भी डेटा स्ट्रक्चर है हमारे पास, JSON बेस्ड हो, CSV बेस्ड हो जाए, Parquet, Avro, these are the different formats in which the data can be processed. JSON, we all understand the JSON format. CSV, we all understand the CSV format. So the data can be ingested into the driver program, into your Spark, which can be a CSV data, which can be JSON data, or it can be Parquet data. It can also be a Avro based data. These are all different file formats. Okay, so resilient distributed data set. So we're going to start with that. Then the advanced version of resilient distributed data set is something called data frames. We're going to work on that also, data frame. And with data frame, you will be able to work with the data in the data frame as same as you work in the database. In other words, you will be able to write SQL statements on the data. That is called Spark SQL, right? It's called Spark SQL works on data frames, Spark SQL. That's called. So we're going to learn this also. For sure, we're going to learn this also. तो हम लोग ये भी सीखेंगे, हम लोग ये भी सीखेंगे, and you will see for yourself. It's going to be fun learning this, right? Resilient distributed data set and data frames also. We'll come to the data frames later on. Using data frames, then finally we're going to learn there is a entire framework available which helps you to work with the data in a much more sophisticated way on S3, and that is called Delta Lake. Delta Lake, and there is a framework, which you will get all the documentation on delta.io. So finally, this is what, because Silver के अंदर Silver S3 bucket में जो हमारे पास data होगा वो ये format में होगा, Delta Lake format में होगा, which is very powerful, very very powerful. In future, we will ये जो अच्छा एक चीज और मैं आप लोगों को बताऊं. All there with me, right, friends? 1:30 बजे दे दूंगा मैं आपको lunch break. Don't worry. All there, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
$1 million point again is this. The kind of architecture we are working on will help us to extend to machine learning and artificial intelligence in future. That's the beauty of this. अभी जैसा हमने GVP बनाया है वो ये वाला आर्किटेक्चर यूज करके बनाया, और ये वाला आर्किटेक्चर में there is nothing like machine learning वगैरह कुछ उसको मतलब रीयूज कर ही नहीं सकते ये आर्किटेक्चर को for machine learning. But this architecture, we will be able to use our implement machine learning algorithms and artificial intelligence in order to get the predictive analysis, in order to do a lot of, predictions and a lot of AI related stuff, right? So this is very critical for all of us. Okay, so yeah, whenever you work on resilient and distributed data set and then later on data frame, also think in terms of data which is made up of columns and rows. Data which is made up of columns and rows. Okay, you will see for yourself soon how this really, gets into the scene. So I'll come back to over here. And now what I'm going to do here is that I'll keep this class as it is. I'm not going to do anything else in that. Instead, I will go back to my IntelliJ and I will pick up. Here it is RDDA and getting started. This is what I'm going to get started with. As you can see for yourself, what we need to do is that in order to get started, we need to, again, the same class I created, an object that I created here in Scala, and then I've created that same public static void main ke badli mein here, you will have defined main, our same stuff here, and val spark context is equal to spark session. Now, don't worry about this. I'll help you to understand. And what are we doing here? See, friends, we are creating distributed data dot for each. I can print this. You can see the spark context dot parallelize. I can parallelize the data. I can reduce the data. Can you see this here? I can reduce the data here. I am reducing the data into what I'm adding it. I'm creating a sum out of it. A is equal to A plus B, C in just one single, line of code. And then, this is the data that I'm picking up from JSON. I'm picking up the data from JSON, right? And then here I've got size is equal to distribute this file. And I can, whatever is the size of the line, I'll explain everything. Don't worry about that. Okay. But then this is how typically you get started with. Okay, but I'll make things much more simpler for you. And working with key value pair, that's also interesting stuff, but then it's okay. Let's do this. Let's do this. Okay, so you know what, whenever you want to get started with a Spark program, the very first thing that you need to do is that you need to create a Spark session. Right? And or else, if not the Spark session, at least you need to have a Spark context in order to create the data set. As you can see for yourself over here, I have created a Spark context over here and I have parallelized the work. And then we have created a distributed data set here. Similarly, here also, I'm just using a Spark context here. But then from here onwards, I have started using a Spark session. So let me explain how the Spark context is created, because you cannot move an inch in a Spark-based program without creating the context and then thereby without creating the session as well. So that's what we're going to do now. First of all, I want to read a file. So step by step, first thing first, I will create a Spark session. How do I create a Spark session? I have created a utility over here and I've created something called global functions, which creates the entire thing. But don't worry about that. Don't worry about this at all. I will just take my code for Spark session from here. Okay, so I'll just go back out here. And I'll create a new class. I'll give the names. It must be a Scala class. I'll select object. You can see this. I have used down arrow and object. and I'll say getting started with Spark. Now I'll say not Scala, I'll say Spark. I'll say add this to Bitbucket, yes, and now I mean it's added to the repository so that now whenever I push, it will be there on the again main main. I'll just tap and then it comes in the list. I'll just hit the enter key and automatically the the main function is created. Now, as you can see for yourself over here, Spark session.build. I'm going to use a builder over here in order to create a Spark session. So I'm going to create a Spark session here like this. I'll say Spark, I'll say val, Spark. Now, what is val? There are two things over here, in Spark. Variable is what you create, and val. Val automatically is nothing but a constant. You will not be able to change the value of it. Simple. Val I is equal to 24. Now, this 24 is the value of I. I don't need to say that it is an int. It automatically understands it's an int. Hence, we call it a weakly type language. Right? And then, but then since it is a val, I cannot say I is equal to I is equal to, I cannot say 25. It will give me an error. Why? Because this is a constant. I cannot reassign the value. This val becomes a constant. Okay. Similarly, but if it was defined as var, then in that case, yes, it's a variable. I can define the value anyway. So I'll say val. More often than not, you will define vals, right? Not vars, val. And I say Spark session is equal to, I'll say Spark session. Can you see this now? org.apache.spark. How come I am getting this class from org.apache.spark as a result of including this dependency? If I do not include these dependencies out here, I will not be able to get the Spark session class here at all. So I'll say Spark session. I can always use command 1 and it will automatically import, or else you can use control 1 in case of Windows. I repeat, control 1 in case of Windows. Spark session dot, I'll say builder, get me the builder so that I can build. And I say dot, I can do all the kind of configuration that I want. I can do all the type of configuration that I want, but I will create a configuration here. You can see this, there is a Spark config out here. So I will create, first of all, instead of creating a Spark session first, let me create a Spark config. So I'll say val Spark config is equal to Spark config is equal to, I'll say Spark conf. You can see this. Okay, so I'll say new Spark conf. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. Can you see this here, Spark conf? And I will create a Spark conf over here. Again, this is something that I can very well import. You can see this here, command 1 and hit the enter key to import instead of typing it out. And then, okay, and then I have, or else if you don't want to type it out, better you don't type it out, use command 1 and then get it imported. So I'll say val Spark config. And now when I create a Spark config over here, I will be able to pass these parameters. When I say new, I will be able to pass these parameters out here. Can you see this? These parameters here, right? So I say new Spark config out here. You can see this here. I am going to remove that for sure. Okay, and I'm going to remove this from here. Of course, I don't want to share my secret and key. Right here you are. Okay, so here you go. See, so this is how I'm creating a Spark config, and this Spark config will be passed as a parameter dot. I'll say config. Okay. I'll say dot config. Can you see this config over here? What config? I'll say Spark config. So I am creating a Spark session with this configuration. Right? And here, instead of giving the name of this application as S3 transformation application, I'll say Spark training application. This is what I'm going to do. So I've got a configuration here. I've got a Spark session over here created. Okay, not yet. There is yet another thing. So when I say Spark session out here, finally, I'm going to say or, dot get or create. This will help me to create a new one if it is not already there in the session, or else it will, bring me the one that is already created. So this is the kind of configuration that I've already done. And if at all I've got to use Delta, then I will use this also. Don't worry about this for now. Just keep this as it is, right? Just keep this as it is. And then here I'll say dot get or create. That's it. And now when I do this, I will have my Spark session created, right? And I'll just simply say print ln and I'll say Spark session just for the sake of making sure that the program runs. I click right mouse button and I say run my program, and you will see for yourself the cluster getting created. देखो कितना कुछ हो रहा है, देखो cluster बन रहा है local machine पे, right? And then can you see this here, Spark configuration out here? You can see this here, Spark config. Okay, Spark session. Okay, once again, I'll run this. Here you are. Can you see this? This is my Spark session. Can you see here? And then the program terminates because there is nothing else that we have written over here. Now, this is what I want to make sure that it runs on your machine as well. So what have we done? We have just got started. We have created a configuration for Spark application, and using that configuration, we have started a session. And now we will use this session in order to read the data. We will start reading the data and we will process that data as well. Okay, so I will go here. I will select this and I'll say commit Spark session code demonstrated. Okay, it's pushed. Just go to the browser, friends, and go to that same project, the link that I've given you. In that, you will find SRC. Can you see this SRC out here? And in that, here you are. Just refresh the page, and you will find these two classes. You can pick up the second class with Spark, and then just don't copy paste the whole thing because the name. Make sure that you create your own class here like this. Copy paste only this part. Okay, so only this part you put a copy paste. Come on, copy this, put it into your class, and let me know once done. Let me know once done, friends. Very good, Atik. Excellent. Very nice, very nice, very nice. Okay, so let's move on. So you see this here, we have this created. Now, I will show you all some code which will help me to demonstrate to you how we can read files. So you see this here, we have here something called Spark session. Can you see this dot read and stuff and all? I'll explain, don't worry about it. First and foremost, I want you to get this file, bookings with involved parties.json. Here, this is the file. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to put it in the SRC folder directly. Can you see this? I've got the SRC folder here and I have to put the file out here. Can you see this here? Right? And I will go to commit and I will put this file, JSON file shared. Okay. right? So JSON file shared, I'll say commit, push, right? So you have this JSON file also with you now. So this is the JSON file that you have. Okay, come on. You have the JSON file. Please take this JSON file and put it exactly in the SRC folder. Now, friends, please don't put it anywhere else. Put it in the SRC folder. Can you see this? It is in the SRC folder. Please see this. And refresh your Bitbucket repository. Just say refresh. And within the SRC folder, you will find this file. Here you are. Spark Training, SRC. Spark Training, SRC. Spark Training, SRC. Here you are. This is the file. This is where you're going to put it in your project. Just copy this file, download it, copy it, whatever. When you click on it, it will appear like this. Use Command A, Command C, create the file. The name of the file must be exactly the same. How do you create a file here? You can say SRC, or else, somehow download it. You don't have the option of download. No. Okay, so you don't have the option of download, no problem. Just copy everything. Click right mouse button on an SRC, new, and say file. Can you see this file option here? New file. Give the name of the file exactly the same, bookings with involved-parties.json. Or else, let's do this, friends. Simple rakhte hai isko. I'll just name it as bookings.json. Bookings.json. Hello, friends. Please name it as bookings.json. Click right mouse button, rename. You can always rename it if you have already created. Make it bookings.json or uske andar ye dal do. Come on. Let me know once done. As it is, no changes at all. If at all the file is corrupted, you will not be able to read it. Very good, always. Come on, fast. You've got to be really, very fast. Excellent, excellent. Very good. Excellent. Superb. Superb. Very nice. Very nice, Atik. Good. Very good, Tawfiq. Brilliant. Where is Azhar? Azhar, you're doing it right. Shahrukh ki tarah. Shahrukh hai ki nahi hai? Shahrukh hai. Shahrukh, you're also doing it. I hope you are in sync with us. Shahrukh, Azhar.
Yes, sir. Doing, sir. Machine is slow working, sir.
Achha. Very good, Musharraf. Excellent. So it's bookings.json. Huh? It's not bookings.json.js or anything. It's bookings.json. Right? Now, very good. Excellent. Very nice. Let's move on. Let's move on. See here, friends. All hands off from the keyboard. Don't do anything. Now, please see this. See how fantastic this is. I'll say, Val, I want to create a data frame. Okay. The distributed data set, don't worry about that. You can read that. That's a previous version. You can do a lot of things there. But I'm starting with data frame directly. Visualize this as table, having rows and columns. So I'll say data frame, or, you just simply say DF. Okay. Or I'll say bookings DF, something like that, right? No, bookings DF. Okay. And I'll say is equal to, I'll say Spark session. Can you see that Spark session object that we created earlier? Spark session dot. What am I going to do? I am going to say read. What does that mean? I want to start reading the data. From where do I want to read the data? I'll say, okay. I want to read the data. From where do I want to read the data? I'll say dot. I want to read the data, which is JSON data, right? And that JSON data happens to be where? It happens to be in src/bookings.json. This is where it is. Okay. And let me check now. I hope I'm not going wrong. Format is JSON. It's okay. I'll say load, ye bhi theek hai, JSON bhi theek hai. Theek hai. I think I'll say dot, I'll say show. I must be able to get the data. Let's see this. Okay. If I'm saying dot show, that does not return a data frame. So I'll just simply, here in Scala, you don't have to necessarily have a semicolon towards the end of each and every terminating statement. So that's fine. I'll say bookings df. I'll say dot show. I'll do this. Let's see whether this works. I'll click here. तो पंखा चालू कर दो मेरा. Okay, I'll run this. First, let this run on my machine, and then I will give you sufficient time to do it on yours as well. Yeah, here you are. You can see this. You see this? Data आ गया पूरा मेरा. हाँ. क्या लिखा है हमने? अब ये नाम मैं पुश नहीं करता हूं, आप ये लिखो. इतना ही लाइन का कोड है, आप लिखो. Come on. This is the only thing that you need to write. Come on. Once you have that bookings.json file, this is just आ गया आपके पास डेटा. Let me know once this is done. अरे तुफेल आ गया, डेटा आ गया. तुफेल is very fast. लिख लिया. वाह. So happy. तुफेल. Excellent. Very good, Atik. Very good. Very good, Akib. Excellent. Now I have a question to you, Atik, Tufail, every one of you. I have a question. I am very good voice, excellent. I am reading this from my local. I am reading a file from my local file system. I am reading the file from my local file system. Can't I read the file from S3? Same code रहेगा कि नहीं?
Yes.
और
Yes.
बस खाली यहाँ पे क्या रहेगा?
S3 का URL आ जाएगा.
S3 का URL. और अब ये देखो मैं क्या करने वाला. ये देखो अभी. See what I'm doing, friends. Murli is there, right? Murli around? Murli के लिए तो ये सब पप्पू है. He has already done this several times. I am within SRC. I am creating a directory. I'm calling it data. And I will drag booking JSON and put it in data out here. And I say refactor. वो move करते तो बोलता है refactor. ठीक है. तो मतलब मैंने data कहाँ डाल दिया? Booking.json में डाल दिया. Now I'll say command C, command V. In case of Windows, Control C, Control V. I'll say bookings-2. और ये है ना bookings JSON जो है ना, इसको मैं rename कर देता हूँ as bookings-1. In short, I have now two files, bookings-1 and bookings-2.json. bookings-1 के अंदर B001, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. bookings JSON 2 में जाके ना, I just change the ID. I'll say 11. You can do this along with me. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and I'll say 20. Matlab, I have bookings in two files, 1 and 2. And in 1, I have got 1 to 10. In bookings.2.json, I have got up to 20, 11 to 20. Now, what do you expect, friends? I'll just say src/data. That's it. I'll get all the 20. I'll get all the 20. इतना पावरफुल है, देखो ये पूरा एक फोल्डर भी वो रीड कर लेता है. See, it has read 2 files. Can you see it? यहाँ पे साफ बता रहा वो. It has read 2 files. Can you see that? And here you are from B001 to B20. Super. करके देख लो ये. Yeah. Now, let me check this. अच्छा, अभी ये बता रहा है. ठीक है. अब ये infer schema क्या करेगा पता है? It will automatically do the inference of the schema. Inference of the schema मतलब JSON का जो डेटा स्ट्रक्चर है उसके बेसिस पे वो ऑटोमेटिकली ले लेगा डेटा. क्लियर है? और यहां पे ना मैंने, अच्छा, all with me, right? Can we proceed or should I wait? I'll wait for 2-3 minutes more. Please do confirm to me once again once we have finished doing this. You're getting all the data. 1 and 2 दोनों का डेटा आना चाहिए. Very good, Oveis. Brilliant. Oveis, मजा आ रहा है कि नहीं Oveis?
जी जी बढ़िया, बहुत मजा आ रहा है माशाल्लाह.
Very excellent. Charu, you're there on the call still? Charu?
Yes, I'm here, Shakir. I'm working in the background as well.
No,
So
no problem. No
yeah.
problem. Perfect. Perfect. I can understand.
Yeah.
Excellent. Very nice. Brilliant. Murli got drop off, it seems. हाँ, मुरली नहीं है. हाँ, नहीं है, मुरली है, मुरली है. मुरली भी बैकग्राउंड में काम कर रहा है. अच्छा है, नो प्रॉब्लम. Okay. Okay. Yeah, cool. Yes. Now let's proceed. Let's proceed. Very good, Atik. Very nice. Good, 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 good. Let's move on. Let's move on. अभी बहुत interesting stuff है यहाँ पर. Okay, बहुत interesting stuff है. यहाँ पे ना I can very well give a data structure for the data that I have read, because the data that I have read is from some JSON. So you see this, I have created a class here. Now, what kind of a class is this? This is the class which is automatically immutable in Scala. अगर ये चीज जावा में करना होगा तो थोड़ा तिगड़मबाजी करना पड़ता है in order to make a class immutable. But in Scala, they have got a special construct of the class called case class. Can you see this case class here? Right? तो मैंने एक global functions के अंदर case class बनाया है, and I have defined the structure of that particular data structure that I have in JSON. So it becomes a bit easier for us to refer to it. So what I'm going to do here is that involved parties and stuff and all, booking and person involved parties, array users involved party. Correct. अच्छा, यहाँ से ले लिया involved party. ये वाला उसको लेना चाहिए. Okay, no problem. Any case, so you see what I'm doing now is that I'll go here. I'm just copying it. I'll go to my community edition, and here you see this. I will create within this package, within this this itself. I'll say package and sorry. I will create a package here like this, and I'll say model. I'll say model, and there I will create a new Scala, but as a case class. Can you see this case class over here? And I will call it as booking, right? And then I can have multiple case classes in the same case class, so not a problem. I'll just copy this also. I'll come back over here, and then I will just copy paste this, and I come back over here, right? So you see this, I've created two case classes. I will be able to now create instances of it. Okay, so I remove this. Perfect. Right? Don't worry, I'm going to push this code so that you can just simply take it from the Bitbucket. Okay, so having done this, but first let me demonstrate. Now I will be able to say dot as, and in brackets here like this, I'll say booking. You can see this booking. I will be able to do that. Now I'm getting some error over here. Can you see this error here? Because it says that you do not have an encoder. Encoder helps you to do the serialization of data from one format to the other. It helps you to encode the data from one format to the other. So I will bring the encoder also with me out here. So here you are. You can see this booking encoder is over here. I just go back here. Okay, and then I'll just put the encoder. I can put the encoder anywhere over here. So I just put it over here. I have created an encoder here. You have to import this control 1 again, say import Apache or Spark.sql encoder. Encoders again, say import class, you put import from Apache Spark.sql encoders. And this is done. Now no error at all. Now no error at all. Got it? So here I am, and then again, I'm going to say df dot. So this is absolutely fine. And then let me run this code and make sure that everything is running. Yes, everything runs as it is. Can you see this here? Booking ID, bagara stuff. Got it? Now there are various benefits of doing this, but listen. I hope you are all there with me, friends. Please, can I get a quick roll call? All are there?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
This is good, and there are many benefits of this. And in some cases, we are doing this, but not in all cases. Why? Because the kind of data structures that we are working with, for example, this is the kind of, it is impossible for us to maintain a case class for this entire data structure. Huge है. मुश्किल है, बहुत मुश्किल है. So maintenance will become a nightmare. Hence ये approach हम लोग नहीं लेंगे. ठीक है? But लेकिन चूंकि ये एक कहीं कहीं लेंगे, कहीं कहीं नहीं लेंगे, so it's not that it is bad, but just that maintenance के लिए, अगर छोटा है class data structure ऐसा है कि with 5 fields, 10 fields, 15 fields, fine. But if there are 100 fields, no, it becomes very difficult for us to maintain. In any case by case, you can take a decision whether you want to really transform this into a class-based data structure or you just want to continue processing it. Now see a few interesting things here. So I'll just keep this as it is. I'll say select. Can you see the select here? With select, I will be able to give the columns here, the columns that I want to select. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is that I'll say select and I'll say call. This call is again a class that is provided. Call, don't get started. Okay. And here I will say in double quotes the name of the column. What is the name of the column? For example, booking underscore ID. So now what will be selected in this data frame? What am I going to get in this data frame? Only and only booking ID. That's it. So I can decide which all columns I finally want in the data frame. Correct? So you see this for yourself now. You see here, I'm getting only and only the booking ID. All the more fun. I'll say even before selecting, I'll say dot. I'll say okay. So this is one way of doing it. I will comment this and I'll show another way of doing it. Now this is interesting, huh? वो कॉल थोड़ा वर्बोसिटी हो जाता है, उसके अंदर वर्बोस. आई कैन से डॉलर, बट ये डॉलर करोगे तो ये एरर आएगा. तो आपको ये डॉलर के लिए ना आपको इम्प्लिसिट ये लेना पड़ेगा, आपको इंपोर्ट करना पड़ेगा. तो स्पार्क सेशन एक बार आप ले लिए, ये ऑब्जेक्ट, दिस ऑब्जेक्ट स्पेसिफिक इंपोर्ट करना पड़ेगा. तो आप क्या करोगे? आई से इंपोर्ट स्पार्क सेशन. ओके, स्पार्क सेशन dot implicits dot underscore. Now you see no errors and you'll get the same results. You'll get exactly the same results. Correct? That's how it is. Okay, now I will say select abhi a booking ID. So let me run this and show you. Let me run this and show you. Here it is run, and then again I run. Once again, it's the same program. Spark config needs type. बराबर है ना? सुधेव. I think without this call also it should work. Yeah, it works. So without specifying COL call also, it works. Yeah, I'm getting only that. Okay. Now dot, you see this now, it is showing this as a string. So for Scala, this is string. But I don't want this to be considered as a string. I want this to be considered as a column really. So I said call here like this. And then I said dot. Now I want to convert it. I just want to change the name of it. So I'll say as, I'll say booking ID. Now you will see for yourself. Abhi ye kya bata raha hai yahan pe? See what is the name of the column here? Booking underscore ID. But now this will become what? Booking ID without underscore and IS capital. You can see for yourself. Here you go. Can you see this here? You're getting booking ID. So this is how you can do, basic transformations. You can do very, very advanced and complex transformations as well. Actually, the one that will be needed in our real life application. Acha. And okay, so it's already 1:31. I would like to give you all a lunch break here, 1 hour of lunch break, and then we can resume. So what I'm going to do here is that I am going to push this entire code onto Bitbucket. Okay, and I'll say demonstrated. I'll say select. Okay, dot select. And I will say, okay, it's pushed. So you can now take this project and have all of these things exactly the way I have. Run the code, see the results on your own machine. Try this out. 1 hour of lunch break. Usme ye bhi kar lo. Lunch bhi le lo. Namaz jisko padhna hai, namaz bhi padh lo. We will be back at 2:30. Is that okay, friends? 2:30?
Yes.
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 Good. So I am not. I am still keeping this. This entire thing on. I will stop recording. I will stop. The screen share and everything else. But the meeting will be on. So please come back onto the same meeting. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks everybody.